Hey everyone, it's Brandon Turner. So today's show is a little different than normal. See, I was a guest. This was a really fun interview, and I thought after I was done, I was like, dang, I think a lot more people should hear that. So we thought, why don't we put it out on the Better Life podcast? So that is what today's show is. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you learn a lot. I hope you grow as an investor, build bigger wealth so you can give more money away and have a better life. Enjoy.
Brandon Turner, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting us stay here in Maui. Really excited to talk to you on this one because you are the real estate guy.
Thanks, man. No, thanks for coming out. It's always a pleasure. I mean, the last time we were in your neck of the woods in Vegas, now we get to hang out in Maui, and we got to play with some whales yesterday. That was a good time.
Cool. Now, I'm curious. I'm sure everyone is wondering, is now a good time to buy a house?
Now is always a good time to buy a house when you have a long enough perspective. Right? It's always a good time to buy a house when you have a perspective that says, hey, 10 years from now, I mean, in American history, there's never been a period of time where real estate's been lower 10 years in the future than it is today. Does that make sense? It's always in every 10-year period of America, you can look back and say real estate is better than it was 10 years ago. And I don't see that changing. In fact, I see that getting even more pronounced over the next few years.
How has it changed since 2020, though? The entire market is flipped.
It's completely
Everything
flipped.
is different today.
Everything is different today. So interest rates are double what they used to be. And so for those who are unaware what that means, it basically means your payment is like double of what it used to be. So if you had a house that was, you're buying a $250,000 house and maybe your payment was, I don't know, let's call it $1,700 a month before, now you might be paying $3,000 a month, give or take. And that's a big chunk. But worse than that, or equally bad, to compound the effect, is prices are sometimes double what they were 4 years ago. So not only are, interest rates higher, which makes the payment higher, so is the property value, which makes the actual payment out of your pocket way higher. So the question, should you buy a house if you can afford it, would be my if you can afford it reasonably, house would be a great investment long term.
Now, if I push back on that,
please.
I'm looking around and I would love to buy a house.
Yeah.
But it seems like renting is so much cheaper.
Yeah.
That why would I spend, let's just call it, just for even numbers, $10,000 a month on a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, when I could rent the identical home for $5,200 a month.
Yeah, this goes back to the perspective, right? If you were to own that house for 3 years, 100%, I would not buy a house. If you're not living there for 2 years, 1 year, probably not. But if you're going to own that house for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, you're going to make so much more than $10,000 a month on average over that time period, because that house that you bought for whatever, call it $1 million, is in 10 years from now is going to be worth, call it $2 million, maybe $2.5 million, maybe $3 million. Like the prices are going up, especially because we have just a massive housing shortage in America. So when you look at over a long period of time, this isn't getting better. It's getting worse for affordability.
Do you think that more houses will be built? Do you think the regulatory environment's going to get a little bit more friendly to real estate developers and that can kind of solve that issue a little bit? Or do you think that we're only going to get more tight? There's going to be more regulations and it's going to be harder to build new homes.
Yeah, I mean, the government will have to do something, right? Like here's the problem in a nutshell. What happened? Great Recession hit. Everyone lost, a lot of bad things happened. They stopped building from like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nobody was building anything. They started picking back up again, 12, 13, 14, 15, started, building, which is great. But when you're not building and more people are either coming to America and buying houses and, people are having kids and kids are growing up, there became a housing shortage. But what the second, I don't know what you call the second Great Recession, like 2000, we'll call it COVID.
Sure.
COVID happened. Everyone stopped building again. And it hasn't picked back up again. The only building being done is at the top of the market. In fact, Wall Street Journal had an article just out the other day. It just said there's a lot of apartments available. They're just for the rich people. There's almost nothing being built for the average American right now. So what does that mean? Again, supply and demand. So to answer your question, it's a tremendous problem. The government has to do something. Whether that, and we can debate this, and the government, they don't know what they're doing. So they can either reduce regulation and try to allow more building, which I don't see that happening. They can try to find a creative way to get more people into homes like California is doing right now with the ADUs, which is really fascinating. San Diego especially is wild right now. And you could do that, or the government could just start subsidizing Americans' rent. And I think it's going to be a combination of all three.
That would be insane if the government subsidizes people's rents, because that just means landlords are going to raise their prices
100%.
accordingly.
Yeah. So people are like, are you afraid of rent control? Are you afraid of like the government stepping in? Would you do Section 8? All those things. All the answers, yeah, of course I would love to have that. Like, I don't mind regulation. It just makes me richer. And what I mean by that is the more the money gets printed and pumped into the economy, landlords are usually ones that end up with the money. It's business owners and landlords get that money because it goes to the tenant. Fine, they pay the rent. Landlords raise the rent. We get more. It doesn't solve the problem, but that's how America likes to solve problems.
That's interesting because during COVID, when they printed all the money, gave away all of this free money, you're right.
Yeah.
Like the people that received the actual stimulus checks and this and that just goes away like that.
Yeah, flows
and
right
then
out.
you see the wealthiest people during that time period gained the most amount of wealth, like by crazy magnitudes.
Yeah. My wealth grew by tens of millions of dollars during COVID because my properties that I owned just went up in value because the rents went up because people, it was a weird time. There was so much money in the economy.
Yeah. So there's the argument that home values really aren't going up. It's simply that the United States government is printing more money.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's probably true. Like, in other words, if I had, my house is worth $1 million today. It's gonna be worth $2 million in 10 years. Okay, that's probably reasonable to say. But also, a gallon of milk was $4 today. It's going to be $8 then. So in other words, inflation is causing the housing to go up. That's for sure. But it goes back to the original point: is should you buy a house? Well, if you don't own the house, then now you still have nothing 10 years from now, and your milk is still $8 a gallon. So like you can argue whether it's right or wrong, or you can argue whether is it inflation? Is it just supply and demand? But regardless, if you own the asset, then you're playing with the game. You're not fighting against it.
And your payment is fixed, whereas
And
people that rent, their payment basically is at the whims of the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's fixed as long as you get a good mortgage, which is super important. You get a fixed mortgage instead of a variable, which most people are pretty good with that.
Yeah.
Taxes and insurance, though, can kill people a little bit. If you're whatever, your taxes are at $10,000 a year, and then it bumps it up to $20,000 a year. Your payment's going up by, almost $1,000 a month. That's real, but it's not, it's not going up by thousands of dollars a month. You're not going to be completely hosed if you own a house with a fixed mortgage.
Yeah. Now, for those unfamiliar with you and what you do, could you give us a bit of a backstory of how you got started in real estate?
Sure.
And in essence, almost what qualifies you to talk about this?
Yeah. All right. It begins with Cold Stone Creamery. You guys had that ice cream? Cold Stone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great ice cream, right? So I was singing for tips. So they don't do that anymore, do they? Do they sing for tips?
It's been a long time since
I didn't
I've
get
done
sung to
Yeah,
when I went there.
Dude, yeah.
Really?
Back
You
in the
go,
day.
well, because you don't tip.
Yeah. That's right. Yes. So back in the day, you work at Cold Stone and you sing when somebody puts a tip, like, thank you for your dollar. Listen to us holler. I don't know why I remember that one. So you sing for tips, and that was my job. I was making $8 an hour plus tips, averaged like $15 an hour. And I decided to rent this like 4-bedroom apartment, and then I rented out each of the bedrooms to just guys from the local college, which is, an experience in itself. But all of a sudden I was living for free. And so that's how I got into real estate. So just people know I did not come from money. My dad's a meat cutter. My mom did daycare in my house. Like, we were very like blue collar, lower middle class.
Yeah.
But I discovered like, oh, this is cool. So anyway, I did that. I ended up buying a house, just like a house, and then rented out the bedrooms to a bunch of buddies. Did the same thing, lived for free. Then I bought a duplex. That was cool. Lived in one half, rented out the other.
Where'd you get the idea to do that?
It was kind of an accident, actually. I was bowling with some friends, and one of the persons I was bowling with, I said, hey, do you have a place I can rent? And she's like, don't rent, just buy. And I was like, but that's crazy. I'm 18 or 19 years old. Like, why would, and they're like, no, don't, just trust me. She's like, just trust me, buy, don't rent. So I did. And that's literally where the idea came from. And and all those houses that I then bought and rented out the bedrooms, not only did I make cash flow, but like they all went up in value over time. In fact, one of them I just sold, like that first duplex I just sold last year, and I made like about $100,000 over a decade, which is not a ton of money, but I only paid $80,000 for the property. And so anyway, that's how I got into it, is just scrappy, just trying. So we went from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 10, 25, and today we're at a little over 13,000 across about 20 different states. There's a lot of in between there story, but that's the beginning and
And
end.
what about your involvement with Bigger Pockets? Because
Sure.
that's how I found you.
Yeah.
Originally. It was through Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, bigger pockets. So I remember my very first property I ever had that was in that house. And that's when I decided, like, I'm going to be a real estate guy. I'm going to buy real estate. So I remember telling my dad, I was actually studying for the LSAT, the LSAT, the law school entrance test, right? I'm studying for it. And I tell my dad, hey, I'm actually not going to go to law school. I changed my mind. I'm going to be a real estate investor. And he's like, that's crazy. Like, why would, like, secure job, all that? And he goes, what are you going to do, Brandon, if the tenant doesn't pay rent? I was like, oh, shoot, I don't know. Like, I was like, you're right. I never mind. And I almost changed my mind. But what I did, I went to Google. I typed in, I don't think it was Google, Dogpile maybe. I'm like, whatever that old, before Google everyone used, maybe Yahoo, what to do when tenants don't pay rent. And this little tiny blog forum called Bigger Pockets pops up. And I don't remember what the answer was. I remember I printed it out and I've had it for years. It's somewhere in a file here. But I printed it out. But what it meant was there were answers to all those like problems. Like when people are like, yeah, but you shouldn't do real estate investing because of ABC. Every ABC out there is an answer from somebody who overcame that and then made millions and millions of dollars. So it like expanded my mind to say, okay, well, maybe I can do this. So that's what got me into Bigger Pockets, actually. I was one of the very first signups on their website. I mean, it was basically just Josh Dorkin running in his basement. And yeah, I jumped in and started volunteering to edit blog posts for him. I was like, I can help out. Let me just edit blog posts. I pretended I was good at English and grammar, which I was not. That led to the podcast. And so I started the podcast alongside Josh. And then the podcast just took off and became the biggest real estate podcast. And like we were number 2 in the business category for almost a decade.
That's incredible.
Dave Ramsey and us. And I was like, can never beat Dave.
That is so cool. So what's your most difficult deal that you've ever done so far across those 13,000 units?
Oh, man. I'll give you a small example and then a larger example.
Sure.
Small example. I buy this house. I'm watching all the flipping shows. You know, the flipping TV shows are always on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching the flipping shows and I'm like, I'm going to flip this house. And this giant duplex comes for sale. It's like 4,000 square feet, top bottom duplex. I mean, there's like literal like blood spatters on the ceiling from like shooting up like drug. It was wild. But like, I mean, nasty house, but good bones, good structure, amazing view of the town that I lived in. And I get the thing for like 45 grand. I'm like, this is going to be, I'm going to make so much money. I'm like, I'm going to put maybe 40 into it. I'm going to sell it for 200. I'm going to make 100 grand. Like that was my thinking going into it. I go to a hard money lender, which these are companies that lend money to house flippers. I go to a hard money lender and the guy I'd worked with before and I knew, he's like, yeah, no chance. I'm not going to lend that. And I was like, oh, but here's all my numbers. He's like, no, it's going to be way more expensive than that. It's not worth that much money. And you know, my answer was to him, like, I didn't say this literally, but in my head, I was like, screw you, man, watch me. And I went and like talked to like 20 different lenders, found one guy willing to do it. I go in there. It didn't take 40 grand to fix up the property. It took more like 80 grand to fix the property up. So now I'm in for like 120. And I did most of the work myself. A whole year of my life was working on this project. And my wife and I would work every day. The thing I put on the market for 180 instead of 200. Okay, we'll go a little cheaper. It doesn't sell at 180, not 170, not 160, not 150, not 140, not 130, not 120, 115 sells at. So I lose money on this deal. I mean, I lose probably 20 grand, call it. And that was the hardest. I mean, it was a year of my entire life and to lose money. I could have literally like laid on the couch and done nothing and made more money watching like soap operas. Like, but the reason I love that story is had I kept it a duplex, it would have cash flowed over $1,000 a month back then. It would be probably $2,000 or $3,000 a month today. Had I kept it as a duplex, I wouldn't have done as much work. It would have been probably more like, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 worth of work. It would have been a great duplex. Today, here we are 8, 9 years after I sold that, maybe 10 years after I sold that property. It's probably worth $700,000.
No.
Yeah. And so the lesson learned is like, yeah, flipping's fun. Like it's cool to take a house, flip it, make some money. But if you just hang on to real estate, just hang on. It is incredibly hard to lose if you can just hold on. And I could have held on just fine. So that was the hardest deal I've done there. And then I got a $72 million apartment complex in Texas that we were making maybe $1 million in cash flow. And then the government's just like, oh, by the way, taxes are now $1 million higher. So it's just like, it's not quite $1 million, but it just wipes out so much cash flow. So now we're just like, okay, well, we got to figure this out. So now we're looking at doing midterm rentals, like traveling nurse stuff inside of it, maybe doing some breaking up apartments into like co-living, sort of like rent by the room. We call them micro apartments, like trying to figure out okay, when the taxes go up, how do we deal with it? How do we figure it out? And again, 20 years from now, not worried about that property, but right now,
is there any recourse on that where you could go and say, actually, we don't think our property should be assessed at this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, everybody can do this, whether it's your primary residence, whether it's an investment property, you can challenge a tax assessment for sure. And we did, and you fight for it. And every area's got a little different process. And we did fight for it. And I think we got a little bit reduction on that. Insurance also went up at the same time, and that sucks, but that's the game we're playing.
Now, I'm curious because I get these in the mail all the time.
Yeah.
These mailers that say, we think you're overpaying on your property taxes. Hire us that we could fight it and bring it down, and we'll get a percentage of the savings.
Yeah.
Is that a scam?
That's a great question. I get them as well.
Yeah.
I've never hired one of them. I would guess this. It's probably not a scam. It's probably just it's probably a whole lot easier than people think to do it. And so they can just go do it themselves. Kind of like that business filing thing that right now everyone's supposed to do. You know what I'm talking about? Like right now there's some like, I mean, obviously people are listening to this in the future, but there's some like, we have to file some business thing. The government changed the
Oh,
rule.
yes. I
It's
do
like
that.
one paper. It's free to do it online. You can do it in 5 minutes. But there's like a ton of companies right now that'll do it for you for $500.
Yes.
And it's like,
So
don't do that.
it's a horrible scam. So,
Yes.
so get this. So our accountant emailed us saying, hey, you got to fill this out by
Yeah.
like January 15th.
Yep.
Fine. I Google it.
Mhm.
I go through the form and I realize at the very end, it says, perfect. Submit this for $179. And I realized, wait a second. I clicked on the first link. It was a sponsored
Yeah.
link.
That's
And this
exactly
company
it, yep.
has the same website.
Oh,
And they charge you $180. And then I just
Yeah.
went back and found the actual website,
Yep.
did it for free.
yeah. Isn't that wild?
The same amount of time.
I want to make sure I sign this form.
Yeah.
I don't know what this form is, but does it save money? What is
Yeah.
the?
I
No.
feel like, yeah. No,
So all it is it's the government's trying to collect information from small businesses who
Yeah.
make under $5 million a year for an LLC or an S corporation. It's basically just a statement of who you are, how you make your
But
money.
it doesn't make you any money.
No.
I
No.
think I remember doing that.
Yeah.
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 You're
Horrible.
fine. Yeah.
Now
I'm-
everyone knows I make less than $5 million a year.
yeah. It's-
Dude,
Yeah.
you just got called out.
No,
Okay.
no, it's just in one of your companies. Your other companies are
Right,
fine. This is
right,
in your like
yeah,
hair
yeah.
care
It's just the
product
whole
company.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what's interesting is every time I hear someone talk about real estate, I'm like, this sounds easy. It sounds very doable. And then I always take it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if I were to go all in on real estate, what does that look like? And then I start getting nervous because I'm like, if I buy all of my real estate in Las Vegas, what's my like meteor plan? If let's just say Lake Mead dries up and then they can't source water.
Yep.
What happens to Las Vegas? If you buy all in California and then there's another California wildfire, or there's an earthquake, or if you buy all in like the Midwest and you have a tornado, or what if like government then in 20 years is like, you know what, we are going to develop ultra high density living and it's going to be super cheap and super affordable because maybe we actually have like a government that's willing to do something like that. And then everyone moves into that. And then there's no reason for real estate. Maybe they deregulate and then
Yeah.
all of these people go and they build all of these super cheap, actual affordable homes that people can move into rather than like mansions that everyone's been developing over the past 20 years. Like what is the I would say macro threat to being a real estate investor?
Well, let me first ask you this. Podcasting. When I think about going all in on podcasting and YouTube, I'm like, oh, but what if AI takes my place in 5 years from now and there's no longer podcasts and YouTube anymore? What if my entire career that I build is just in the toilet in 5 years because I went into something and then it got disrupted? That could happen, right? But it's not stopping you guys from doing this. It's not stopping me from doing it.
Well,
so
it depends because like right now, podcasting is kind of like the thing for like that's like our job, you know, and we can pivot, but something like real estate, you're using your capital to then buy something that in the event of, you know, this meteorite plan or whatever could be completely worthless.
Sure.
And so there's so many other avenues. Like you could just invest in like international index funds, like Grant loves to do to get 3% return, or you can buy, you know, like US based index funds. Like there's so many different choices and real estate sounds very appetizing, but then I'm also concerned because that is also, you can be subjected to macroeconomical things that just happen.
For sure. I'm just trying to alleviate the fear decision or the decision making based on fear of saying, hey, what if something goes wrong? Maybe I shouldn't do it because of that, right? One of my favorite lines, I don't know where I first heard it, but no risk it, no biscuit. Like if you don't risk, you're not going to get the rewards, right? Real estate, like, yeah, you could go and get 3% returns on some like very ultra safe thing. That's fine. And if you are ultra rich or you have a lot of money and you're not in the building phase, that maybe is fine. But for most people, when they're getting into real estate investing, like that are listening to the show, they're not sitting on $10 million of capital that just want like, what do I do with this money, right? They're probably sitting on 50 grand. Okay, 50 grand at 3% per year, they're never getting rich off that, right? So you have to take risk in order to get the biscuit, if that makes sense. So on one regard, there's that. There is diversification though, of course. Like I don't like putting all my eggs in one real estate basket.
Like
I can't
location
remember,
or something?
Yeah, different location. I mean, we're in 20 states. I'm across different areas. Even like forget Open Door Capital, which is my large company. I'm also doing my own personal like real estate. I have a few small properties here and there. I got a couple condos here in Maui that I do on Airbnb. I've got a property I just closed actually 2 days ago in Florida that I'm going to do rent by the room, which is a cool strategy we can maybe talk about. I got another one in Atlanta I'm closing on. So I've got different areas with different strategies. Now, you know, the more you diversify, the less expertise you have. So there's a danger there. We got to be careful not to get too wild and crazy because the money in real estate today is in like being world class. Like if you're not world class, I would say the same thing with podcasting and YouTube and all that. Like you got to be world class. You can't just put up a video and hope to get 1 million views. You can't just buy a house and hope to make a ton of money. Like if you're not good, then you're going to struggle. Mediocrity doesn't really have a place anymore in the business world in America.
How do you find a good deal?
Ooh. All right. Good deal. First of all, we got to define what a good deal is. Most people, when a newbie comes to me and they're like, I want to find a good deal. What is a good deal? Well, I mean, just something that makes me money. Well, how much? I want to make $1,000 a month. Okay. If you put $1 million into the deal, let me ask you this. If you invested $1 million into a deal and you made $1,000 a month, is that a good deal?
Horrible.
Yeah, because of what 1.2% return on your money? That's terrible. Might as well stick it somewhere else. What if you put $1,000 into a deal and you made $1,000 a month?
Fantastic.
That's a fantastic deal, right? So we have to define the terms. Like, what do you mean by good deal? So I want to say, hey, personally, I like to get, you call it 8 to 12% cash on cash return, which means in year one, I'm going to get back 8 to 12% of whatever I invested just in year one. That doesn't account for the future. If you want to go like long-term over a 7-year hold, let's say, I want to maybe say, hey, I want 15% per year of my money. Whether you calculate it as an IRR, which gets a little in the weeds, IRR or average annual return. But I want to get like 15% plus per year. Where'd that number come from? It's double the stock market. It's like roughly that's literally just a rule of thumb. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do the risk of real estate and the work of real estate investing, I want to get an outsized return. I don't want to get 7% over the next 10 years per year when I could just dump that in the stock market.
But where do you find that? Because I'm looking all the time. I don't see any deals in Vegas.
Yep.
Commercial real estate tends to cap out about 6.5%.
Yep.
When I look at any options that are out there on the market, you either have to do a substantial amount of work to renovate and raise rents, or it's better just not to do that and practically invest in anything else instead.
Sure. Yeah. Real estate does not work like it used to. I mean, this is a big thing. Real estate in 2025 is not real estate in 2020 or 19, 18, 17, whatever. The game has changed because of what we talked about earlier, right? Interest rates are higher. Property values are higher. So what do? Well, we can just choose to sit it out and just invest somewhere else. And that's fine. That's what some people do. I'm a much bigger fan of this idea of how do we make cash flow work? How do we make a good return in today's market? So that gets to what I call like the fringe of the real estate strategies, where again, the old days, you find a house, it's listed by a real estate agent in Vegas, it's $280,000, you put 20% down, you make a nice 12% return on it, everyone wins and you're all happy. It doesn't work. You just can't do it. Like your mortgage is higher than what the rent is because rents are not going up right now at the same pace that housing prices are. So we have to say, well, how do we make better cash flow? I'll give you a few examples. I mean, I have a list of like 20 of them, but one of them would be rent. I mentioned earlier, rent by the room. They also call it co-living. There's a company called Pad Split that does this. They're kind of like the Airbnb of the co-living. Now, this is going to sound wild, but imagine taking a 5-bedroom house, adding 3 or 4 more bedrooms in it. Like you turn the garage into 2 bedrooms. You take the living room and turn it into a bedroom, maybe 2 bedrooms. And all of a sudden you've got 9 bedrooms in this house for maybe 10 grand, 20 grand of work to get that. It's pretty simple to put up some simple walls that are just kind of temporary walls. I mean, like they're real walls, but you could remove them later. So now you got 9 bedrooms in this house. And that house normally would rent for $2,500 a month. And your mortgage would be $2,500 a month. You're just breaking even. So that's not a good deal. But when you can charge now, let's call it $800 a month for 9 different bedrooms, what is that, $7,200 a month? Mm-hmm. And so you just went from $2,500 and break even to $7,200. Now you got to pay some extra expenses. People are going to move out more often. Water, sewer, garbage, all that you got to cover. But you easily can make $1,000 to $2,000 a month on one of these houses. And now I know people are listening and going like, that's insane. Who's going to live in something like that? Half of America will live in something like that. You're single and you make less than $50,000 a year. Like there's a good chance that you would rather pay $800 a month to live in one of those than $1,500 a month or $2,000 to live in a studio apartment. Does that make sense?
So we had a buddy who did that in Vegas. He stopped doing it because they kept having to call the police.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't doing pad split, and that was in a sketchier part of town.
But he did this. 2 different properties were rented by the room, and the police got called many times because
I think he had
dynamics.
3 fires.
He had 3 fires.
Like I would talk to him and he'd be like, I had another fire. And I'm like, what number are you at?
Yeah. And he's like, the dude just set fire to the room. He just like had a breakdown and just lit it on fire.
So I love stories like this. I call it like my uncle invested in real estate once stories, right? Everyone's got like, my uncle did, like when I tell people I do real estate, my uncle invested in real estate once and had 3 fires, right? Everyone's got that story. My uncle lost his shirt in real estate. I caution people around the idea of taking anecdotal stories and applying it to principle, right? So I heard this happen. Principle. There are tens of thousands, I would probably argue hundreds of thousands of units in America that are these rent by the room. And by and large, they work just fine. And so when you hear the stories, like when I hear a story of like, yeah, my uncle tried real estate investing once and man, the tenant burned down his house and he, stole his wife and like the whole thing. You're like, well, did your uncle screen for tenants? Did he use like a background check and a criminal check? And did he hold them to this stuff? And it's always, they don't know, but it's, of course, the answer is usually no. It's just, they're mediocre landlords or mediocre. I'm not saying your buddy is, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes there's just crazy stories. I mean, I have a mobile home park. I think I said this on the show last time. Maybe not. I had a mobile home park where one of the tenants just like robbed a bank and then just went on the run, like from the feds. Like, yeah, that's a weird story. We couldn't evict him as easy because we couldn't find the guy, and it was like took months to get him out. Those stories will happen. I had another tenant in that same place. She was a prostitute who would advertise her services on like Craigslist or whatever, and she'd get people to come to her trailer, her mobile home, and they would come there, they would get undressed, they'd get all ready, and then her boyfriend would come out with a gun and rob them, send them out naked out into the night. And of course, they're not going to go to the police with it because like they're there to.
Then all the neighbors.
Yeah. So like it was just a really interesting scam that it's actually pretty smart. Like we have these stories,
How did
right?
they get caught?
Because they got caught because one of the guys who got scammed. He calls a property management company from like a burner phone. He's like, obviously I'm not going to go to the police with this. I'm not going to say my name, but this is what just happened. You guys should really look into it. So then we had to look into it. We had to tell the police, and they started investigating and the whole thing.
Was there a sting operation?
I don't think there was a sting. I think they just confronted the lady and her boyfriend, and I think that scared them enough to leave. And they ended up getting evicted a little while later because they stopped paying rent. I think they just disappeared. And yeah, anyway, those stories happen, right? Those happen when you have thousands of units, especially. You're going to have those crazy stories. I caution people against the idea of like a bad thing happened. Now, are there challenges with a thing like rent by the room? 100%. There are massive challenges. I'm not saying you should go do that. I don't do much of it. I'm very, very, very little of my portfolio is that way. However, it does work. There are many examples of people who are getting $1,000 to $2,000 in cash flow each home, and they just learn how to manage correctly. So this is that final point: is every one of the strategies, and I can name a few more, like ADU development. You build these little ADUs in the backyard. California's leading the way on that. I love it. Assisted living, residential assisted living, turning a house into almost a rent by the room, but for elderly, right? Yeah, there's problems with that. Everything I say here, build to rent communities. I love build to rent. Like you build a community of like 5, 10, 20 houses and rent them all out. You can make really good money that way. Every one of these people listening, something pops in their head and goes, yeah, but this, yeah, but this, yeah, but this. And that's hard. Like, oh man, imagine how difficult it would be to manage like a dozen tenants that live in one house. Yeah, you're right. That would be really hard. You know, it's also really hard being poor, right? Like being broke. That's really hard. You know, it's also being like, so in other words, like you pick your hard and money is in hard. Like fast money, maybe the way of saying that, fast money is in hard. When you can solve a hard challenge, like managing a bunch of tenants in one house, you're going to make a bunch of money. If you can manage the difficulty of getting licensed to do a residential assisted living in a community, super hard. I got a buddy doing that. He won't, like every house makes him $15,000 a month in profit when he's done. Yeah, but what about staffing? Yep, that's hard. It's hard to find good staffing. It's hard to be poor.
Yeah. I'm actually doing an ADU now.
Are you really?
In LA.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that strategy.
I never thought I would put more money in Los Angeles. Ever. I swore against it.
Which house?
The one, it's by Somerset.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dude, the ADU thing is, I think you asked the question earlier, should people buy real estate today? And the answer is yeah, long-term, if you can hang on to it, sure. Yeah. It's a great idea. ADUs are a way to hang on to it because you can build an ADU. I don't know, what are you spending on yours? You know?
So I'm spending $200,000 on mine. I'm able to borrow the entire amount as a pledge to asset line at 5.26%.
Wild.
And I'm guessing I should be able to make, worst case, a 10% cash on cash return. So I should be able to net 20 grand a year from a $200,000 investment, which, you know, I'm paying $10,000 in interest. So it's basically a free $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Worst case scenario.
Yep.
Best case scenario, I make maybe a 15% cash on cash return.
And what's wild now, if you wanted to maximize that even more, you could potentially Airbnb it if it's in the right area and the right legislation.
I can't.
Yeah, you could midterm rental it though. You get a stage like where, let's say a normal ADU might rent for whatever, $2,500 a month, right?
Correct.
That's cool. But if you put the furniture in there and then you go list it on like Furnish Finder, you might be able to get $3,500 to $3,900 for that same unit. Yeah. Same thing. You cover a couple of the utilities, but all of a sudden you just jack your rent, your income even higher. Yeah. And there's other strategies as well. You can do the same thing. You can also add sometimes multiple ADUs now. I mean, people in San Diego are putting like 10, 15, 20 ADUs on one lot, and just property value. I mean, their value of the property goes up, their cash flow goes up. It's a phenomenal strategy. I love that you're doing
Yeah.
that. I didn't.
Yeah,
know
I'm
that.
trying
So
one.
good. Yeah,
and
yeah.
if it goes well, I'm
Yep.
doing it on the other place, the duplex I used to live in.
Yeah.
Turn that garage into an ADU.
Yeah.
If that goes well, then I got the place in West LA
Yeah.
where I want to do an ADU there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That
just
game
keep
is
doing
strong.
it.
That's how Hawaii is surviving. I mean, here in Hawaii, every house pretty much has an ADU. That's the only way to make it. Like this house where I'm at right now, I got an ADU right there. My parents are staying for the month in it. I got another ADU in the front yard, like another studio apartment. I could rent out that ADU if my parents weren't there. I could rent that for $3,500 a month, maybe $4,000. I could rent the front unit for $2,000. My mortgage on this place right now is only like $8,000. So like I could live almost for free in this house. I could have actually, I thought about it. This room we're in right here, I was like, I'm going to turn it into an ADU.
Yeah.
I was going to turn that into the bathroom back there. And this was going to be a studio I'd rent for $2,000 a month. And it would have been, whatever. Probably.
Would you have wanted to do that?
I mean, I don't need to do it,
Right.
but it's always an option. And if I didn't have as much money right now, if I wasn't as like well off as I am, 100%. I mean, I have house hacked, which is like that term we use when you live in one unit, rent the other. I've house hacked almost continually, nonstop for the past 20 years. Even living here in Hawaii, my last house, I just moved here, but the last house I was at for the last 7 years, Graham, you've been there. My buddy Ryan Murdoch rented in the backyard. He paid $3,500 a month for the last 7 years, something like that. Like,
What are your thoughts on modular homes? I see these like storage crate homes or the things like a home you can buy on Amazon and it's like $40,000 to add an extra unit.
yeah.
Is there any company that's doing it like in a legit way, or what are the issues with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like where the industry is going. The industry of like these small built homes. Boxable is a company that's doing it really, really well. Right there out of Vegas.
Love Box.
Yeah, I love those little things. The problem with those is like they can advertise stuff like, hey, you can get a casita, they call it there. Like you can get a boxable house for $50,000. Wow, that's awesome. But then you got to site prep your property and you got to get the water, sewer, garbage hookup. You got to do all that. That might be another permitting, all that might be another 50 grand. And then the house is only 400 square foot. And so then you're like, okay, well, now I'm at 100 grand for a 400 square foot house. You actually could build a 400 square foot house for under 100 grand without doing one of those fancy like names. Now, the reason I like them is because we're moving into that direction where we're almost turning homes into like IKEA, or like they're going to get, the prices will come down. It's going to be one of the solutions to the affordable housing crisis in America. If ever, I mean, cities are following one after another. They're following California. California always leads the charge on this stuff, right? So California is doing the ADU thing. It's working really well. It's solving a lot of the affordability problems. We have a problem with parking though, but Elon's going to solve that in the next few years. And so like once we no longer need vehicles, and majority of people will just hop in their automatic, Tesla and whatever. We won't worry about the parking much any longer. So it's a temporary problem with the parking right now. But that's solving the problem. City after city will be adopting this. It'll be across the whole country in the next few years.
How many ways are there to make money in real estate? And what do you say are the best ways? Like, what are the ways that people also don't really think about?
I like to say there's 4 primary, like I call them wealth generators to real estate. And this is the simplest way of explaining it. When you own a rental property, you get cash flow if you buy right. Like you get extra money every single month, profit in your pocket. Huge mistake people make though. There's a difference between like what people think is cash flow and then pure cash flow. And when I say pure cash flow, I mean, it's been like put through the fire, like gold is purified by throwing it through fire. It's been purified through the fire. I mean, you own rental properties, like you can make like, I'm making $500 a month, $500 a month, $500 a month, $500 a month, $2,000 water heater.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. $500 a month, $500 a month, $500 a month, $500 a month, $2,000 stove. So like you have to account for those big items that only happen once a decade, but there's 50 of them in a home. And so like you count, like they happen all the time. So as long as you're actually buying a property that makes money, pure cash flow, you get money every single month. That gets you financial freedom. You get enough of them. Like back when I started, I said I wanted $100 per month per unit. That was just my number 20 years ago I used. That's gone up maybe a little bit now, but for simplicity, if you needed $100 in actual pure in your pocket, post-tax, like because there's not a lot of tax anyway, we'll get to that, in your pocket, $100 per month per unit. Okay, how many units do you need to retire? If you had $10,000 in bills and like that would make you feel comfortable, okay, 100 units. And you might think that's great. How am I ever going to buy 100 houses? Well, you don't. You just get in a multifamily. You buy the house. Later on, you buy a duplex. And you're like, okay, I figured that out. You buy the 10 unit. Oh, I figured that out. You buy the 50 unit and you're done in 3 years. That's cash flow. Number 2 is appreciation. Obviously, property values go up over time. Yes, there's dips, but when you look at all of American history, property values always go up over time over the long run. That's where wealth is built, right? Like cash flow is cool. I can pay my bills with it. Great. But the reason I'm absurdly wealthy is because my property that I buy for, example, what I bought here in Hawaii, I bought it, I just moved from, I paid 1.7 for. At the time, I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. I'm paying $1.7 million for a house. How could I be so dumb? Why would I do that? That's stupid. And my buddy David Green, who is my co-host on Bigger Pockets, David's like, man, in 30 years, what's that house worth? I'm like, oh, probably like 3.5. He's like, and you can rent out all the units separately on there because you could like carve it up and rent it out if you had to, and you had to go move back home and work at Cold Stone again. You could rent it out and break even. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. He's like, so worst case scenario, Brandon, worst case is 30 years from now, you're worth $3 million more because you paid off the property. And I'm like, oh yeah, worst case is I'm really rich. It's like, okay, so that's appreciation. Now, ironically, I held it for 7 years. I just sold it for 3.2 million. Actually, we closed today. And so like yeah, right. That's appreciation. That just added, almost whatever that is, almost $1.5 million to my like net worth. Plus we paid the property off. That's the third way you make money in real estate. Property, you buy it at whatever, 1.7. And I had a mortgage for 1.2, I think it was. But at the end of 7 years, I only owed $1 million on it. I paid off almost $200,000 in that 7 years. That's just money in my pocket. And if I own a rental property, the tenants are basically paying off my mortgage. So number 1, cash flow. Number 2, appreciation. Number 3 is that loan gets paid down.
Mhm.
And number 4 is the tax benefits. In other words, if I make $100,000 a year as a landlord in cash flow, you make $100,000 a year from advertising and from YouTube, I keep all my money, you're going to lose probably 30% of yours, right? So in other words, I'm naturally just getting wealthier just by holding on to real estate. Then if I play my cards right and I do the game right, which I do, I offset if I'm careful. And again, you got to do this right. So please, those listening, don't just go and assume this works. You got to follow the rules. I can offset my active income, the money I make from book royalties and from YouTube. I can offset that and not pay taxes on that because I own real estate. So that's just like the government, it's just like me making money, right? If you save money, you make money. It's basically the same thing. So that's how you make money in real estate, those 4 ways: appreciation, cash flow appreciation, loan pay down, and tax benefits.
So who should not buy a home?
Yeah, if you are not good at budgeting and you are not good at dealing with difficult problems, those 2 things, really. What I mean by that is like if you're just bad with money, it's one thing to you're bad with money and so you don't pay your rent and your landlord yells at you and you end up getting evicted. Like that sucks. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's fine. But you go and put down $10, $20, $30, $50,000 on a down payment and then you're bad at managing money and you lose it. You lose all that money and you have now like a foreclosure on your record. Like that's a much worse. So if you're not good with money, get good with money. Like pull yourself together, be a big boy or a big girl and like learn how to have a simple budget. Like that's obvious. And then if you can't handle problems, like there are people out there who just like can't handle it when things break. I mean, every day almost, I feel like something breaks here. Or if not broken, it's just something that needs to be worked on continually. I mean, I don't know, like my pool just wasn't working the other day. And I'm like, why? Now I got a pool. And so I have more things to take care of here. But like one day, oh yeah, my water dispenser in the fridge just not working right now. I'm like, I don't know why. Like, and like if you're a person that's gonna get overwhelmed and anxious and get all this anxiety around, like, oh, I just can't handle like the water is not working in the fridge. I hate this. Hey, don't buy it. Just call the landlord. They'll come fix your problem for you. Yeah, they'll take care of it.
And what about people who should not invest in real estate?
I think everyone should invest in real estate. I really, you got to be patient. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you get the long haul, real estate is a great way. In fact, I heard Cody Sanchez say this the other day. Real estate's a great. Maybe it was on this show. I don't know. It was like real estate's a great way to preserve wealth. That's what she said. So if you have money, you can dump it into real estate. It's a great way to do that. What I disagree with her on is she's like, real estate's not a great way to make your money. I disagree. I think you can turn real estate and make a lot of money. You can flip houses. You can just get the cash flow if you know how to do it right. So I think either way, whether you're somebody who has no money and you want to get wealthier, yeah, real estate's a great way to do that. It really is. A great way to build income, better than almost any job out there. It's way more fun than almost any job. It's way more enjoyable. It's way less, I don't know, drudgery. Like everybody in real estate just actually kind of enjoys it. Most people. But yeah, and if you're super rich, real estate's a great way to, keep growing, preserve your money.
Yeah. What would you say to someone like me, where I look at the work of real estate and I think to myself, my time is better spent either getting a better guest for the podcast, one extra YouTube video a month.
Yep.
That outweighs anything I can do in real estate.
For sure, 100%. In fact, I spend a lot of time talking to people out of active real estate, but not out of real estate, just out of active real estate. So yeah, I don't think everybody should go buy a rental property. I think there's ways to, and this is not just a promo for my own company because there's a million guys that do it like me. But you can invest with people like me, and you can invest in companies. You can invest in a REIT. You can invest in, different private offerings depending on, certain legal things. But yeah, and you can still be involved in real estate. Now, should you go put 100% of your money in real estate? Of course not. Should you own your own house if you're wealthy? Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Again, you buy a house. In fact, I would recommend, when I was younger, I used to try to buy the cheapest house possible. Like that was like cheapest of house. But now I try to buy the most expensive house I can possibly do. Now there's a reason I get paid, whatever, almost $4 million for this house, because it's going to be worth a whole lot more, 10 years down the road. But worst case, I could rent out the units and I could break even or even make money on this property. So, yeah, I think that you can find ways to invest in real estate. REITs are fine. REITs are pretty similar, maybe a little bit outperform the stock market over time. Depends on what data you look at and whose reports. But I like private offerings. I invest in a lot of other people's deals. People invest in my deals, and sometimes those go great. Sometimes those go terrible. But I like having a bit of my net worth, a good chunk of it in real estate, no matter what.
What's happened with your business over the last year, 2 years, give or take? How's it changed?
Real estate business, like
Yeah.
Open Door Capital.
Yeah.
We've slowed down dramatically. We bought last year we bought $30 million of real estate. Most of that was self-storage and a little bit of mobile home park stuff. The year before, we bought a lot of multifamily. We slowed way down on the multifamily. Multifamily is fun, and I'll get back into it. And in fact, the market's getting better for multifamily. Prices are coming down. But the same thing I said earlier about houses, if interest rates are higher and property values are higher, it makes just the payment much, much higher. That's what happened in multifamily. It's just the same thing that happened. Interest rates, taxes, insurance made multifamily not really work very well. So we just went from, I think our goal the year before, I don't think we quite hit it, but our goal was 300 million in real estate purchased, and then we did 30 million. Like that's like Grant Cardone has a 10x rule.
Yeah.
I did like the 10x slowdown. Like it's like, but who cares? Like that's real estate. It's cyclical. So when it's good, it's great. We get in and we go hardcore, and then when it's not, we slow down a lot. We've shifted a little bit to lending. Like I launched a lending company that just does like hard money or DSCR loans. That's been super profitable and successful. We've leaned into the operations around mobile home parks because we have 6,000 mobile home units around the country.
Yeah.
They're a lot of work to manage. They're hard. And so we've really leaned into operations. Like how do we maximize the profit versus grow the portfolio? So it's been a optimizing year.
How do you get into real estate if you have no money? I'm asking this because I have a lot of friends, not that have no money, but don't have a lot of money because people think you need 20% down. The average cost for a home now in America is like crazy. And on top of that, with rates as high as they are, it's completely unaffordable for the average person. And on top of that, how can you do it fast? Because there was a guy, we were at this networking event last night that you threw, and I was talking to this kid, not a kid, but he was 24. And he had $80 million in real estate. He started when he was 19, but obviously the market was completely different 5 years ago. Like you could go in, you could pay, but 5% down with rates as low as they were, it'd be affordable. You could actually make the payment. But now I feel like you just need to save up a ton for a big down payment and also have a strong enough income to be able to afford the monthly payment.
Sure. Yeah. So getting into real estate with no money, a couple strategies. First of all, the idea of you ever heard of FHA loan? Yeah. It's 3.5% down payment on a loan as long as you're living in the property for a year. And you can do that on a multifamily. This is my favorite strategy for new people getting into real estate. And I've done it multiple times now. You buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, either 2, 3, or 4 unit. You can do it on a single family house as well. And then you live in one unit, rent the other ones out. So you could buy, let's call it $1 million fourplex, and you live in one unit, you rent the other 3 units out, and you can probably in today's market break even. You midterm rental those, and now all of a sudden you're making profit. You Airbnb them, now you're making a ton of profit. So that's one way to do it, is kind of a combination of the house hacking with those fringe strategies. The other way that I get into real estate, more from the investing side.
But how'd you qualify for a loan though?
Yeah, FHA is not too hard to qualify for. I think you got to have a 620 credit score, give or take. Now, if you're sub 620 credit score, or you just don't have the income to justify it, you can bring in a partner into an FHA loan who has the income to justify it.
Say getting a cosigner.
You can basically get a cosigner. That's a doable way.
The thing is, though, if you're borrowing $970,000, especially with the rates where they're at right now, I feel like you'd need to be making $20K a month.
Yes, they can sometimes use, though, the income from those other units to help you qualify. Some depends on the lender. And I actually don't know if it's the rule or the lender's interpretation of the rule, because some lenders are like, yeah, we can just use that.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah, and some lenders are like, nope, you have to own the property be a landlord for 2 years first before we'll let you do that.
Yeah.
That's possible. And so yeah, if you can't qualify for that whole amount, yeah, the cosigner thing can help because now all of a sudden they can use it. But they don't even technically call it a cosigner. I don't think with FHA, it's just like one person has to live in the property, the others don't. That's one strategy that could work. And honestly, $1 million for a fourplex is probably, I mean, that's like California prices. But in most areas in the country, you can find that fourplex for
Trying to get dilapidated.
yeah.
Like
You buy
beaten down.
you buy a little
Yeah.
fixer upper too. Actually, one of my favorite strategies, again, for a certain type of person, it's a FHA loan product called a 203K. It allows you to wrap in the repair costs and the purchase price into one lump, and you pay just 3.5% of the total. So you're basically financing the entire repairs through government money at super low amounts. So for example, you have $300,000 property, could be a duplex, triplex, single family, whatever. It's $300,000 and it needs $100,000 of work. So now you have 400,000 in it. Normally, you put 20% down on 300, so that's 60, and then you need 100 for repairs. Now you're at 160. That's a lot of money. But instead, they take the total amount, 3 plus 1, you're at 400,000, take 3.5% of that. So what is that, like 15 grand, give or take? And you put the 15 grand down, and then they fund the $100,000 needed for the rehab. That's a cool program because, now, why would you do that? Because that property isn't worth $400,000. If you bought right, if you know what you're doing a little bit, you analyze it right, you don't buy a $300,000 house, put 100 grand into it just to have a $400,000 house. That'd be silly. Just buy the $400,000 house. You do it because it's worth 5 or 600,000. So the reason I love that 203K loan is it's instant big equity. Like you build in equity right away from the front, like right away you got equity. And two, because you remodeled the house, I mean, you put 100 grand into it, you can get much higher rents. There's something I don't think a lot of people realize about landlording is like when you have a nice property, most properties aren't nice. Most rentals are not nice. Yeah. I'm a bougie guy. I like nice stuff. So like if I was a tenant, I would pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars more for a house that looks like it was designed by Chip and Joanna Gaines than I would just for a house that is white walls, boring, like ugly flooring, whatever. So you made this property nice. You're getting an extra $500 in income on each unit, let's just say. So your cash flow is up $1,500 a month. So maybe it would have been a break even. Now you're making $1,500 to live for free, and you have a couple $100,000 of equity. Like win, 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 win. So anyway, I love that strategy. 203K loan, very, very cool. The other way to do it on the investment side, let's say you're like, well, I don't have a lot of money, but I don't really want to buy a house for myself. I like being whatever. I like not owning a house, or I already own one. The simple answer there is just partnerships. Like, I mean, that's literally how I grew to 13,000 units. I didn't do it myself. I have 2,500 partners. And so let's go real simple though. I bought a triplex one time, or I found a triplex. I really wanted this property. I knew it was going to cash flow. It was super cheap. Now, again, this is 15 years ago, but back then it was like 50 grand for this triplex. I didn't have any money though. I was broke. I had no job. I was just trying to like flip. It was like way back when I was like working on that single house that I lost all the money at. But I knew the deal was going to work out. So I just went to a buddy of mine, actually a guy from church. He was like the sound guy at church. We talked a lot. I knew he worked for the county as like an administrator, network administrator. I went to him and I was just telling him about this deal. I'm like, yeah, I just found this really cool triplex. Do you know anybody who'd want to like partner on it? Like after I explained the deal. I never like to ask people directly. Yeah. It's more because I don't want to be weird with family and friends or whatever. So I'm just like, do you know anybody? He's like, actually, we might be interested. What do you need? I'm like, probably just like 40 grand is really all it would take for the down payment on this thing. He's like, yeah, we can do that. And so he partnered with me. Yeah. I did the work. I found the deal. Like I managed some contractors. I managed the property. He put in money. That was it. I got that deal. Every year we would meet together at a little Mexican restaurant. This was our routine for a good 8 years. Little Mexican restaurant. We'd sit down, my wife and me, his wife and him, sit down, we'd get our food, and then we'd write ourselves checks of the profit from the previous year. And it was always like $5 grand each of us would make. And again, not crazy money here, but just a little tiny like $100,000 triplex, whatever. But it was like $5 grand they would make every year, and I'd make $5 grand every year. And I put $0 into that. You can do that with a single family, a duplex, a 10 unit, 100 unit, an industrial like warehouse, apartment complex, anything. There are people in America, a lot of them, who have a lot of money. Like, do you know the stats on how many millionaires are in America? I don't offhand. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's
like 1 in 8 people.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous.
It's higher than you would think.
Yeah, it's way higher than you think. There's so many people with money. I mean, I know you polled your audience recently. I polled my audience recently. Like, we have a lot of people with money that follow us. But they don't have time. They don't have passion or desire to go learn how to do this game. But here's the thing I think about real estate. Real estate is sexy. And what I mean by that, if you poll, we should do this poll actually. If you polled 10,000 Americans and said, do you think real estate investing is a good idea someday for you? Like, do you want to someday invest in real estate? What percentage are going to say yes? 99%. Everybody knows real estate's fun and cool and a good way to make money. Like, most people just don't think they can do it, but everyone likes the idea of it. There's just something American about real estate investing. So anyway, now you're the expert. You know what you're doing. You find the deals. You're just good at this because you listen to the podcast and read the books and all that. There are way more people out there that are rich with no time that would work with you than there are like people to do what you are. The bar is very low for finding deals. Nobody wants to work. Lots of people have money.
What's happening with interest rates? When are they going to come down?
I don't think they are. I think interest rates are there. When you look at the last, 40 years of American interest rates, we are right dead center, even where they should be. Now the government doesn't necessarily move interest rates, but interest rates are moved, and the government kind of controls it based on what they want the economy to do or not do. So everything I'm about to say, with a grain of salt, take that. But interest rates are where they are because that's generally where they've been. We've just been spoiled like little kids the last, 10 years where it's like 3%. Like, what's your lowest interest rate you ever got,
2.8.
Yes, I had a 2.9. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, that's not, I don't think we're ever going to see it again. And I think we should take that approach that we will never see that again, ever. If it happens, hallelujah. But I don't think we'll ever see it again. I think we'll see, where are we at right now? Like 6.5, call it for a house, 7, depends on who you go to, right? It went down. Obviously it went way up to 8, went back down to about 6. Now we're sitting at maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think the next 10 years is 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, fluctuating in there.
And how do you see that impacting the market though in the short term?
Yeah, people are not moving as much right now. They're not buying as much, and that's fine. But it's a relative thing. We get people used to. It happened already when people were used to 8 and rates dropped to 6.5. A bunch of people refinanced and moved, and if the transaction happened, we went back up again a little bit. People slowed down, and again, that's what happens. And so, now, if we don't get to 2 again, I don't think anybody expects to get to 2 again. So when rates drop, we'll get an influx of the market. So they're still controlling the market. The government is somewhat trying to control the market, real estate, and they're trying to balance that with every other part of the market. And it more or less seems to be working. They're kind of doing it. Yeah, does it suck right now for a lot of aspects of real estate? Sure. It's a hard time to invest right now. But are there ways to make it work? Sure. It's kind of like dollar cost averaging too. Like if it's hard right now, sure. But we can still invest in real estate now. And then when things get better, like great, we're going to buy more real estate. And then if things go down, that's okay. I'm just going to find ways to make it work now. And then when it goes back up, so we'll just play that game.
Yeah. This is something that Jack mentioned to me last night. We found very interesting. We were at this event that you hosted called like the top, what is it?
The 50?
The 50.
The 50, yeah.
50 people pay $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by people who have $100 million plus worth of real estate.
There's some ridiculous people there. Yeah.
Jack said that you pointed out this person's going to be a billionaire. That person's going to be a billionaire. That one's going to be a billionaire. What qualities do you look for and how do you know?
Yeah, good question. One, I think there's just this probably maybe most importantly is it's not a hope. It's just they know they're going to be a billionaire, right? Like it's just like, it's not a weird thing. They're just like, yeah, well, of course I am. Like when you look, especially age and like time, like the kid you were talking to, kid again. Yeah, we're all old men talking about these 24-year-old kids. Yeah, but Arik, who's coming on my podcast, actually we're filming him in like 3 hours from now. Like he's 24. Like is he in already $80 million of real estate? Like as long as he doesn't drastically wreck something or the market doesn't completely tank, given a 30 or 40 year span, he definitely is going to get there. But the same with some of the guys that if their net worth is $200 million right now. There's guys in the group that have $1 million net worth and they're pretty relaxed and they're like, yeah, I just like to buy a few more properties every year. And yeah, I'm not going to say they're going to be a billionaire. But the guy that's at 150 million net worth, he owns 5,000 houses and he's like aggressive and he knows like, yeah, I'm going to keep growing this thing. I love it. How is he not going to be a billionaire?
Right. Even if he just grows at 12%.
Yeah. Just like a decent number. I used to think I was going to be a billionaire. I've changed though over the past year. Like a year ago, if you'd asked me, I was like, yeah, I should be a billionaire. Like just based on the next 30 years of growth of my portfolio. If I just keep doing what I'm doing with open door capital, with the properties, with raising whatever, yeah, I'll be a billionaire and that's fine. What's changed is my motivation. Like, I had another kid just a few weeks ago. And so I've got 3 now and I'm really enjoying that. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do for the next 30 years what I've done for the past 10. I think I'm going to slow down dramatically, and that's okay. I've come to a place where I'm like, well, I don't need $1 billion. If I wanted it, I'm sure I could probably fight for it and have a pretty decent chance. So, but yeah, so you see it in some people. They have the ability to, because they have a business mind and they've got a strategy to get there. This is going to sound silly, but it's not that hard to make. This is going to sound really silly. It's not that hard to make $1 billion when you're investing in real estate, because if you buy $2 billion of real estate, and again, people are like, that's ridiculous, but you can do it with partners, bringing people, raise money. When you're talking $100 million apartment complexes, it's not that many of them. So you buy a couple $1 billion of real estate, and then over a time period, 5, 10, 15 years, that goes from 2 billion to 4 billion. Okay, so you just made $2 billion. Yeah, you had partners. Okay, so they get a bunch of the money. So they might get half that, and you get the other $1 billion. That's just how billionaires are made in real estate. It's not a super complex thing. And the process of buying a $100 million apartment complex is really not that different. And in fact, I would argue it's easier than buying a $100,000 house in a lot of ways, because you have people, you have teams. I mean, yes,
less competition.
Less competition, yeah. And it's just so much more systematized and less drama. And so, like, if you can buy a $1 million house or a $1 million apartment, you can buy a 10 million or a 50 or 100. There's little nuanced differences, but that's why I say it's not hard to be a billionaire in real estate if you really wanted it. And if you're willing to scale and you have that vision for getting there, it's not.
Yeah. How was the guy able to get $80 million of real estate at 24 years old?
Yeah.
How did he do that?
Yeah. Go listen to my episode when it comes out. No, here's his strategy, and this could work. And I feel like he should tell his story, but better than I can. But I can just tell you a bit of it. Is he utilizes a combination of seller financing, which is where the owner of the property will carry the mortgage, right? So imagine, first, if this is confusing, imagine, Jack, you have a car. What do you drive?
A Tesla.
Okay.
Model Y.
Nice. Okay, you got a Model Y. What's that thing worth?
Unfortunately,
Yeah, robbed it. Okay,
What do you want it? What's it worth?
What price did you pay, and what it's worth today?
Yeah.
Tell
Top
the
of the
audience.
market, I purchased for 58 all in,
All right.
and it's probably worth 30.
Okay, that's fine. Do you own anything on it?
No.
Okay, so you own it free and clear. $30,000 is probably what it's worth. I want to buy that car from you, but I don't have 30 grand. So can I have the car, and I'm going to make payments to you? Is that cool? Just say yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pay you. What's a good monthly payment for that, do you think?
I want $500 per month.
Perfect. I'm going to pay you $500 a month for the next X number of years. I don't know how many years that is. Now I'm going to own the car. Like it's going to be my car. It's mine, but you are going to have a lien on it. In other words, if I don't pay you back, you can go and repossess my car. That's done all the time, right? When you buy a car from a dealership, it's your car technically, but the dealer or the financier, whoever ended up with the loan, they have that lien. They can just go and foreclose, or not foreclose. They can repo it from you. Real estate, exactly the same way. And so you have a house worth $30,000. I want your house. And so obviously, just trying to keep the math the same, I'm going to pay you $500 a month for your $30,000 house for the next X number of years. And you get the monthly payment. The seller financing is fascinating. It's a great model. A lot of investors, my buddy Gabe Hamill, he's built his entire portfolio, millions and millions of dollars. He's built it just off seller financing. That's pretty much all he's ever done. Now, why would a seller do that? Like, why would you do that? Because you want $500 a month. Like, yeah, you could sell me your car for 30 grand. I could give you 30 grand. Well, now what? You got to pay taxes on it. So you're going to lose 10 grand just in taxes on that thing. So now you only get left with 20, and you're an old guy. What are you going to do with 20 grand? Stick in the stock market? Oh, that makes you nervous, because like, what if that goes down? That's my retirement. But I like $500 a month, and I know the car. It's a nice car. I can take it back if I needed to. So that's why guys do seller financing. I've done seller financing for people.
How does taxes work on that? Because you mentioned the tax thing, that if you get the $30,000 up front, you're going to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
How does that work in real estate? Are you only taxed on the monthly payment?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the simplistic version of it, but yeah. So when you do seller financing, you only pay taxes on the money you're receiving. You don't pay it on the entire amount. So again, let's say I wanted to buy $1 million property from somebody. In fact, my very first apartment complex, I bought a 24-unit apartment complex when I was 24 years old. And the owner, they didn't want, it was like let's call it 500,000. It was roughly 500K for this 24 unit. They didn't want to own anymore. They wanted to travel. They were mid-70s. They had an RV. They wanted to go travel and see their grandkids around the country, but they were relying on that income because they were running the company. They were running the day-to-day operations, but they didn't want to run the day-to-day operations. So instead, they sold it to me. I paid them every single month, and they just went and traveled around. And so they just paid taxes every year on whatever they received in that year. And again, it's pretty low tax rate because you're just basically getting interest. I think it's just interest money at that point. Yeah, pretty cool strategy. So when guys like get a lot of real estate for no money down, what a lot of times what they're doing is they're doing a combination of some seller financing, like they might get the seller to carry a $1 million second mortgage, and then they go to a bank and they get the first mortgage for a $4 million one. So they have $4 million from the bank, they have $1 million from the seller, and there's the $5 million needed to buy this property. Let's say, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one strategy that a lot of people utilize to get big real estate deals for really no money out of pocket.
Where do you go to find good deals? Because everything that I see, let's call it the MLS.
Yeah.
Everyone else has access to it. It's not really the cream of the crop,
Yep.
let's just say. So where do you go?
Yeah. So there's 100 strategies we could talk about. I'll tell you a few of my favorite.
Yeah.
I still love what they call it, driving for dollars. It's almost no money. You can do it. Most people can do it if they got a little bit of free time. Get in your car, go to the neighborhood you want to buy a property in, and just drive around. And what you're looking for is just properties that look like they have a problem. Like there might be something wrong. In fact, I like walking for dollars in my neighborhood, like up here. And when you're walking and you're looking for those, you'll see them everywhere. Like you guys are gonna start seeing this stuff. Like you see a mailbox that's just stuffed full. And you're like, oh, interesting. They haven't checked their mail in weeks. I wonder what's going on there. Or the lawn is, 8 inches high. They haven't mowed their lawn in a long time. Or like there's not a single item outside their house. Nothing. It's just completely empty. They don't have nothing. There's no bird feeder sitting there. There's nothing. Blinds are all closed. It's probably vacant. So what you're looking for is problem properties. And then it's all public data. You figure out where's the tax bill going for the person who owns that house. So you can write this down. There's an app out there. I have no affiliation with them, but they're called Deal Machine. Yeah, Deal Machine. I've used them before. It's great. But it literally lets you do all this on an app. Yeah, you just like, okay, that address, that one looks interesting, that one looks interesting. And then you get the owner's address where the tax bill is going to. So if it's not that same place, which usually it's not, now you know where it's going. And you can, what they call skip trace, you can find their phone number. Call them up. Hey, I was just walking by that house over on 3rd Street. I saw it looked vacant. I'm just a young, new real estate guy looking to buy a property. And I just thought I'd reach out. Hey, any chance you want to sell? And so the short answer, like that's one strategy, driving for dollars. The more meta or more like high level discussion is real estate investing, like for good deals, is a funnel. Like if you think about like funnels in business, right? Like, hey, you're I don't know, whatever, like your car dealership, and you have 1,000 people drive by every hour. And out of those 1,000, 10 people stop by and come inside. So it's like 0.1%. And out of those 10 people, 2 of them test drive a car and 1 of them takes the car home and drive. That's just a very simple sales funnel. We do it in every aspect of business. That's all finding good deals is. I have 1,000 properties on my like list here of properties that I think I might want to buy. I'm going to contact them and I'm going to get a hold of a third of them. And out of the third I'm going to get a hold of, maybe 10% of them are going to have an interest in selling. Out of them, maybe half of them will actually, agree to sell. And so I might have 1,000 possibilities and then I buy one of those homes. It's just a funnel. And so the people who do a lot of real estate, we buy a lot of real estate, but they're big deals. I got buddies like my buddy Cam Cathcart, he'll buy 10 houses in a month. Like, how do you buy 10 houses in a month? Because they are talking to thousands of, hundreds or even thousands of people. And it's just a funnel. They're never surprised. Like the best real estate investors, all the people I interview, all the people that were at the 50 last night, like nobody's surprised when they get deals because it's just a funnel. Nobody's surprised they have a 6-pack. Like it's not like you look down and you're like, oh shoot, where'd this come from? Like, whoa. It's like, I'd be shocked if I didn't, I don't have a 6-pack, but if I did the work for a 6-pack, I just have a gym in my background to make it look cool. But if I did the work for years and years, I'd be shocked not to have one. If I sent out another strategy, if I sent out 10,000 mailers to people who own, let's just say, for example, you own real estate, but you don't live in that property. That's public data. We can pull that list real easy using a site like PropStream. That's a website. I send out 10,000 letters to 10,000 people that own a house, but they don't live in the house. Well, what does that mean if they own a house and don't live in it? It's probably a rental. Okay, well, or it's just vacant. Either way, would somebody who owns a property that's vacant or rental, would they consider an offer on their property? Good chance, like maybe, right? Like I'm a landlord. If somebody wants to buy my property, the answer is not no, it's how much, right? Like I'm like, well, let's talk. All right, so you send out 10,000 letters. Now you might get, let's call it 1%, like of those people are going to call you back out of 10,000 letters. So is that what, 100? Am I doing my math right? So like, okay, you get 100 phone calls. Out of them, some are going to be like, screw you, take me off your list. I hate you. You know, like you get those. And then, okay, fine. And then 50 of them though, maybe want to sell. You have a conversation and most of them are just like, you know, you give them a lowball offer, whatever the number that makes sense for you. And they're like, no, screw you. But every once in a while then, out of maybe 10,000 letters that cost you $10,000 to mail those out, you get 2 deals out of that. And out of those 2 deals, maybe one you flip and you make $80,000 on a flip, and one of them you hold as a rental that makes you $500 a month in cash flow. That's how you get deals. It's coming up. There's a lot of strategies, like a lot of different little things like driving around, mailers, TV commercials, a sign on the side of your car. All that stuff works. Radio ads can work really, really well right now. All that strategy is just designed to get them in the funnel. And it's your ability to optimize a funnel that determines how successful you are when it comes to getting good deals.
How do you negotiate the price down? Like, do you have any strategies?
My favorite strategy is simply to give people multiple options. Like Starbucks offers a tall, grande, and a venti, right? Just so you don't compare it to 7-Eleven's, dollar coffee.
Yeah.
So you can pay 4, 5, or 12, and you're like, I'll pay the 5. 5 sounds good, right? And you're not like, wait, that coffee over there is $1. So I love that same strategy, especially with properties that aren't like, if a property's got multiple offers and like they've already you're competing, that's not going to work. But if I'm talking to a seller, I just give them a couple options. Hey, here's a few things I could do. Here's an example. I could pay, $300,000 for your house. And just as is, I can close like next week, like all cash, we'll get it done. Or I can pay $320,000. But for that extra $20,000, I would like you to do whatever. I want you to include all the furniture in the house I want you to keep there. And it's going to take me another month to close. So then the seller's like, oh, which one do I want? Which one do I want? They're going back and forth. Which one do I want? I don't care which one it literally doesn't matter. I gave them like 2 scenarios that I'd be happy with either way. And they're trying to figure out which one they want. They're not thinking yes, no, they're thinking which one. That's my favorite negotiation strategy. Okay. It works really well. People do it on me now. Like I have friends that will negotiate with me on stuff, whether it's a real estate deal they want to buy for me. And they do that. I'm like, I know what you're doing. I taught you that. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah, but it works.
So I know I'm fairly well off financially, right? But did you know I still house hack? Like that's right. I've got an extra couple units at my house here in Maui. And I decided to actually rent one of them out because, hey, it's like almost $2,000 a month and I'm an investor. So why not? Do you know the first thing I did when I decided to rent that out? I went to turbotenant.com because there I can advertise the unit, screen for potential tenants, sign the state-specific lease, get automatic rent payments set up, track my income and expenses, and even communicate with my new tenant via the app. It literally made the process so much easier. So whether you've got, 1 unit or a ton of units, check out turbotenant.com. I love it, and I know you will too. Let them know I sent you.
Yeah.
Where do you think the best opportunity is right now? Is it in commercial, like some sort of like flex space industrial, or I don't know, residential real estate, high density,
self-storage,
trailer parks? We were talking, or mobile home parks. We were talking yesterday or 2 days ago, and you were saying that there was a lot of issues with commercial recently, but that also means that there's a lot of opportunity.
For sure.
Where do you think the best opportunity is?
Yeah, the best strategy is I'll say the meta answer first. Like the best strategy is the one that fires you up the most and works in the location you're buying. That's it. Like they all work. I can find it. I mean, last night at that dinner, right? We had like roughly 50 people there doing things. Almost nobody in that group does the same thing. It was actually pretty wild. Like the differences, like there's a campground guy and there's a, mobile home park guy and a self-storage guy and like all these things, right? That's that. So they all work. There is no best. It's like, what's the best diet? I don't know. I like carnivore stuff. That's fun. Keto's cool. Like it all works. I can find fitness influencers that swear by everyone and have science to back it up. Right? Like every fitness influencer has science data that backs up why theirs is the only one that works and everything else sucks. Yet that doesn't make sense, but they all have it. Same is true for real estate. So there is no best. I'll tell you my favorites right now though. I love the concept of the rent by the room stuff if you're willing to go through the hard. I really like industrial warehouse right now if you have the money and the knowledge to be able to pull that off. Like buying a big warehouse and renting it out to like not even necessarily Amazon. I'm just like, let's say you have a 7 different warehouse, like 7-bay warehouse. You rent it out to 7 different companies in your area, a plumbing company, a trucking company. I love that stuff right now. Super scalable. I really like assisted living, like I mentioned, residential assisted living. I like house flipping right now. Like I think it's a good market to flip houses. Not the best market we've ever seen to flip houses, but people are still buying nice houses right now. If you can handle the finances of flipping, I like flipping right now. So it's again, those are all good strategies. If I had to just pick one for, let's say, you, I don't know why, I'm just hypothetically, if I had to pick one for you, I would say you should go, Jack, into residential assisted living. It'll take you a year to buy your first one. It'll take you a year to learn it. It's going to be hard. You got to get a license for something. You got to figure out how to get some staffing to run it. But you do it right, 1 year from now, you'll buy your first one and you'll make 15 grand a month in profit and you're done. Like you're like financially free. I mean, you're probably already financially free, but you're like that hypothetically, you're there, right? You buy one more year, you buy another one. Now you're making 30 grand. Now you're going to have to hire a little bit more high level staff at that time. And then you buy a third one. Like that, for the amount of work, I'd probably do residential assisted living. You know, like yesterday we were out in the water on the boat, right? And we saw the whales in the distance.
Yeah.
So I like to go paddle boarding with the whales. Like I love that, going out there. And if you want to get like a close encounter to a whale, we were doing on the boat yesterday, we maybe didn't notice, you don't paddle or you don't boat to where the whale is. When you see it on the horizon, you go in front of it, right? You can see the direction the whale's moving and you just want to get somewhere in front of it because the whale's then going to come up to you. Like you're not going to it comes to you. The reason I bring that up is when I look at American real estate, like where's the whale headed? Like where's America society headed? As a real estate investor, if I want to get wealthy and ensure that things are going to go well, I want to get in front of the whale. I want to get in front of the economy. Where is our economy moving? Let me start working in that sector right now so that when it catches up, I'm going to make a lot of money. Assisted living, there are so many old people in America right now, and we're not building affordable housing for them. So what are we going to do with them all later on? Like we're in 10 years from now, it's going to be a massive problem in America. Okay, so assisted living is getting in front of the whale. You get good at it now, you're going to make a killing. ADUs, like we talked about, that's a whale that's coming. It's affordable housing in America is maybe the biggest whale right now. Like America does not know what they're going to do. So get in front of it. Section 8, like that's the whole program the government pays rent. They're going to have to broaden that. Okay, get good at that right now because that's where the whale's headed. Luxury multifamily, I don't want to touch that. Like real high-end A-class luxury multifamily, maybe long-term it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of that right now, and we got a lot of people that don't want it. So I'm not going to get in front of that whale.
What markets do you like to buy in? Like what locations?
Anything but no. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to say 5 states that I do not buy in.
Okay.
Because they're hard. I have chosen that's not my hard. You got to pick a hard. I like certain things that are hard. Like I buy mobile home parks that are half empty, and I try to fill them up. It's the hardest thing ever. But that's my hard. I just picked it. Politically, though, there are 5 states I don't want to buy in because I don't like that hard. And you can probably guess what they are. California, Oregon, Washington, New York, and Michigan. I don't like those. And probably not Illinois if I wanted to add a 6th one on there. Now, what's similar about all those states? They're all just really left-leaning states. Now, it's not a political thing. You know, Seattle had a rule or a legislation going through a little while ago. It didn't pass for obvious reasons I'm about to say, but they wanted to make it so if you were a landlord, the tenant will get equity and ownership in your property.
No.
Yeah, they wanted to give tenants ownership and equity because they deserve it. Because they're living there, housing's a right. And so if you are a tenant, you get to own your landlord's property. And the longer you live there, the more, that's ridiculous.
That would ruin tenants.
It would just ruin everybody. Like as a tenant, like, hey, we need $800,000 for a new roof. So, hey, Miss Johnson, I know you're just working at the grocery store, but we're gonna need you to cop up 40 grand out of your share. Like it would never work, right? Like this is silly. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop liberal governments from just being silly. And that stuff starts passing. Sometimes silly things start passing. And there's a lot of just legislation that doesn't help me as a landlord in those 5 or 6 states. So it has nothing to do with the politics of it. Like some people, I'm sure maybe it actually helps people. Good. Doesn't help me. And so therefore I'm going to avoid those states.
Wow. What about locations you really like? If you were to pick maybe like the top 3 states.
Yeah, I like Florida a lot. A lot of people moving there. I like Arizona a lot. A lot of people moving there. I like Nevada a lot. A lot of people moving there. Again, all generally conservative states, not crazy. Property taxes aren't insane. I like Texas, but property taxes are just too crazy. Can you make it work? Yeah, that's just not a hard I want to face. And I own hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate in Texas. I'm just like, I really am getting tired of the property tax problem. So
what about buying for cash flow versus appreciation?
Yeah, that's why I don't believe you should choose. I mean, again, there are nuances here, but I think you buy real estate in areas that will appreciate and you use strategies that cash flow today. So for example, if I can't cash flow in Vegas, but I believe in Vegas appreciation, which I do, I think Vegas has a lot of things going for it. So I'm just going to buy in Vegas, but I'm going to utilize one of those strategies that will allow me to get cash flow today. So I might go to Vegas and find a duplex that would break even, but I'm going to, again, maybe it's a midterm rental on each side. Midterm rentals aren't governed by the short-term rental laws. And so I can get higher rent without having to do violate short-term rental laws. Now I get cash flow and I get appreciation. So I don't think you should settle for one or the other.
That makes sense. How do you be a good landlord?
Whoa.
What are your tricks?
You take care of people. Like, that sounds so like cheesy, but majority of landlords just don't care about their tenants in any way, shape, or form. They just don't care. And they don't care in two interesting ways. Sometimes they just are way too like mean and harsh, and I'm not going to fix up anything on your property, and I'm not going to do that, which is really bad for the landlord because their property falls apart. They get worse tenants. There's no like retention.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're a jerk to your tenant, you don't treat them right, you don't fix things when they're broken, you're gonna have a hard time. The opposite side though of being a bad landlord is being too kind and nice. I should say nice, not kind. You're too nice to your tenant. An example is like, hey, I know, Miss Johnson, that it's been a hard year, but you're 5 days late on your rent. But you know what? It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just get it in when you can. Now that's a really nice thing to do. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. Okay, next month, Miss Johnson's like, hey, I'm a little bit behind. I had some problems go on with whatever. I got to pay rent a week late. Okay, that's fine, Miss Johnson. Hey, you're doing well. Next month, it's a couple weeks late. Next month, it's a month late. Next month, it's 2 months late. And now you've got a problem as a landlord. So what do? You evict Miss Johnson. She can't catch up. You got to evict her. So whose fault is that? It's the landlord's fault because you were trying to be nice instead of like firm, I guess. I'm not saying you go like, hey, you're late on your rent and I'm going to evict you today. But it's just like, hey, Miss Johnson, like the rent is due on the 1st. I need it on the 1st. My mortgage payment comes out on the 3rd. It's got to be in. So there's going to be a fine. I hate to do that. And if you want to waive it the first time, waive it the first time. You want to be a nice guy. But we've got to institute rules. That is being a good landlord because it actually helps Miss Johnson and it helps you. So yeah, be good to your tenants is like the key to being a good landlord.
Yeah. For me, I always struggled with that because I fell in the camp of usually being too nice, too generous.
Me too.
And for a while, I think looking back now, I do have regrets about doing this, but I would never raise the rent. If a tenant always paid on time, never any issues, took care of the places they're on, I really hated raising the rent because my thought was that I'd rather earn a little less and just keep them there.
Sure.
Like 10 plus years, I would love that. It's less turnover for me.
Mm-hmm.
They get to save some money. Everyone wins. 2020, my expenses went through the roof. And I had several places in Los Angeles that were rent controlled. I couldn't raise the rent on them. And when I was able to raise the rent 4 years later, my expenses have ballooned to such a point where even if I maximized that rent increase, which I did, I think it only came to about 4% in a year. But I hadn't raised the rent in the 6 years prior to that. So now I'm raising 4%, but my insurance is up 50%. My property taxes went up. Everything went up so much to the point where now I look back and I think I should have been raising the rent. And maybe just giving some like, hey, I'm going to raise the rent, but I'm going to give you 15 days free. And that way it balances.
There's other ways to be kind,
right,
and to give back. And here's the other side of that: is let's say you don't raise rent for 5 years, you sell the property, you're way below rent. What is the new buyer going to do? They're going to jack up the rent $2,000 on Miss Johnson. Now she definitely can't afford it because she's not used to that. Where if you would have raised it along the way to a normal inflationary rate and not been gouging them, but you're just being good and you're just raising it the way that that we wouldn't have a problem. She would be able to afford it because she's been used to it a long time, or she would have found somewhere else along the way. On her terms and not just the massive rent raises.
Yeah. So I think in hindsight, I should have raised the rent more.
Good to hear you say that.
Lesson learned. Yeah.
I hear with rent control, what a lot of like mom and pop landlords suffer, the same thing that you experience was rent control trying to kind of mandates you to, or it commands you to increase the rent maximally every single year. Because if you don't, you're just screwed. And you screw over the tenant as well.
In fact, that's when people ask me like, are you worried about rent control? I'm like, not really. Like, and Grant Cardone has a great viral video. I don't know whose show he was on, but he said like, if they mandate rent control, I'm going to be worth like $5 billion more in the future. It's because like if they mandate 4% a year, he's only underwriting, and same with us, like we're underwriting 3%, 2% rent growth maybe. Like if they mandate 4% or they allow, like that's what we're going to raise it to. So all of a sudden rent's going to go up higher. So who does that benefit? Benefits the landlord. So long-term rent control doesn't hurt me. It's going to long-term, again, help the people at the top. Like it's not a system I like. It's just a system that exists. And so I can either like I can work in it, or I can just get angry about it and post on social media how dumb it is, which people will below this video. But it's like, that is what it is.
What are your thoughts about Section 8?
I love it.
Investing in those
Yeah.
units?
I love investing in Section 8. I think that Section 8, which is called something else now, but we all still call it Section 8.
Yeah.
Section 8 is where the government pays part or all of the tenant's rent. It is a really good program to get into, because it's really hard to get into because there's so many people who want it. So once you're on it, you don't want to screw that up. Like, you've been waiting 8 years to get Section 8, and finally you get on it. So you're going to do everything in your power not to screw it up. So I like Section 8 because it makes people better tenants a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to screen your tenant. A lot of landlords make the mistake of going, well, the government's paying for their rent, so it's going to be great. So they just let in anybody. Now, make sure they're still a good person. They haven't got evictions on their record. They've done a decent job of being a human being over the last few years. And then Section 8 can be great. Again, I think the U.S. government is going to have to widely expand. I mean, maybe 10x or 100x that Section 8 program. I think it's just a trial right now for what's coming in the future.
Yeah.
So get it in now. And
yeah, my only experience with Section 8 was not a pleasant one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the rent gets paid every single month on time. That was a benefit. Sure. But the inspections, sometimes the tenant would go in and the tenant was really dirty or would break something. And Section 8 would come in and say, landlord, you have to replace this. I'm going to replace it, and then it's going to break again, or the tenant's not going to take care of it. And then I got to replace it again.
Yes. Yeah.
I even had a situation where I was remodeling the unit next door to the Section 8 tenant. And there were some paint chips that were on the exterior because I was in the middle of painting. And Section 8 says, we're not paying the rent until you clean up all of these paint chips because it's a hazard for children.
Yeah.
As if there are no children around here. It's, this person is not a child by any means.
Yes.
Well, this is our policy and you have to abide by it. There's so many little things like that where I really didn't like the level of scrutiny that they went through the property, and just silly fixes that I felt the tenant should be paying for that. I shouldn't, but they mandate the landlord take care of it.
Yeah, I haven't had as much of that. I mean, we have a lot of Section 8 tenants. I haven't had as much of that. I think some of that's probably California, right? Like, again, why I don't like to invest in California. I think California just has I don't know. You guys got a weird vibe down there.
You get weird.
I know why you left.
Yeah.
But some of that too keeps landlords, because it's needed for a reason, because it wouldn't exist if you didn't have a bunch of bad landlords out there just trying to take advantage of the system.
True.
So they put that in there, and maybe it's a little overboard, but it keeps you really maintaining a good enough property. So it's one of those, I'll survive with it. But I like Section 8. I like the program. Here's an interesting factoid about Section 8. Section 8 pays higher amounts, and this is one of those, like, how do we get, it's a fringe strategy, one of my 20 fringe strategies that I talk about. Section 8 pays more based on bedroom count.
Yes.
Right? Unlike, and it's drastic a lot of times, because a lot of Section 8 people have a lot of kids. It's pretty common to be on Section 8 because you have a lot of kids, you maybe don't have as much time for working, and so you'd have less money. So there are not a lot of landlords who have a 6-bedroom house out there. So supply and demand, Section 8's like, oh, we need more 6-bedroom houses because we got all these people with 5 kids. Let's offer more money for a 6-bedroom. So you might see something like, and you can literally Google this, like look up like what Section 8 is in your county. Yeah. But it might be $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom, $2,500 for a 3-bedroom, $2,800 for a 4-bedroom, $32 for a 5-bedroom, $55 for a 6-bedroom, $85 for a 7-bedroom. Like, it can, in some areas, based on their needs, drastically increase. So I got a buddy out in Washington, D.C. does this. He'll buy a house, similar to what I said, adding bedrooms. He'll add like 8 bedrooms to it. He'll have 8 bedrooms in a house. He'll remodel the basement, put really nice bedrooms, and then he goes over the top to make it a nice property, like really nice. But then he's getting just ridiculously high rents from the government. And the person moving in is like, this is the nicest house I've ever seen. Like, he screens them well, and it's a beautiful house, beautiful property. They are never going to be a problem because they never want to lose that.
So the government's paying $8,500 a month?
In some areas, yeah. I mean, every county depends on like the what the average is in the area, and then it's bedroom count. But in some areas, it can be. I mean, I've seen over 10 grand in some areas for certain size houses. And then after disasters, I mean, like, this isn't Section 8, but they're paying 25 grand a month for houses in Maui after the fires.
Wow.
Like, it's just like, it's supply and demand.
That's incredible. What are purchases that you think every person should make? It doesn't have to be real estate related, just in general.
Oh, that's a great question, man. I think everyone needs a Ninja Creamy. We talked about that, Jack, yesterday. Yeah.
I don't think I'm
Ninja
going to
Creamy.
have enough time.
I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to
After
try
this.
it. But
What is
man,
that?
it's a Ninja. Oh, this is like a commercial for Ninja Creamy. I'm the best sales guy for Ninja Creamy. I have no stock in that company, but I should. Ninja is a brand of like blenders
Yeah,
and stuff,
blenders,
right?
yeah,
You can buy Ninja Creamy at Costco, but you get this you make a liquid of some kind in different recipes, freeze it overnight, not blend it, whatever you want to call it, mix it the next day, and it makes the best consistency ice cream ever.
All
So here's the secret. You put in the Fairlife chocolate milk from Costco, 150 calories with 30 grams of protein, a scoop of whey protein powder, and then a little bit of salt, a little bit of like if you're like trying to keep it healthy, like what do you call it? Monk fruit, like sweetener, and freeze it overnight. Next day, make it. It is the greatest tasting ice cream with like 50 grams of protein, less than 300 calories.
Wow.
Everybody needs to own a Ninja Creamy. It's the best.
JJ was ranting and
Really?
raving about the
It's
Ninja
so
Creamy,
good.
and I wanted to buy one. The only problem is I felt like I had to try it out
Yeah.
for myself.
Yeah, if we have time,
But
which we probably
it
won't,
like
so you
went
got to
viral
flight.
on social media, and he was just like singing its prayers.
Yeah, that's
I want to try
Dude, it's
that.
so good, yeah.
Holy crap.
yeah. It takes 5 minutes to make or 4 minutes to make a dish of ice cream, and there's a lot of recipes, and you can go down to TikTok, like get on the algorithm,
Wow.
and that's all you'll see is Ninja Creamy recipes. Anyway, everyone should have a Ninja Creamy. I think everyone should have a goal journal, like a habit tracking journal, where they track their daily habits. I think we talked about this on the show last time. Is every morning just track your habits that you care most about. It's like the ultimate life hack. Like you just track the stuff you want to do, because at the end of the day, you get the results of what you repeatedly do. If you want a six pack, there's something that you repeatedly do to get you that. If you want a better marriage, there are things you can do that will get you that. If you want to be a better dad, you want more money, you want to save more money, whatever it is, there's just things we do, and nobody tracks that stuff. If you want to completely change your life, alter it forever, just start tracking your habits.
This guy out there with the
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
what
think
do you
it'll pick
expect?
up much.
It's probably fine.
Okay,
honestly.
cool.
Yeah,
all right.
of course, right when we're filming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Are there any other purchases you could think of? Anything else you want to add on to that? I'm just
No, I know it's a good question. AeroPress, I think for coffee, AeroPress is phenomenal. You ever use this? You know, you push down the
I
AeroPress.
haven't, no.
I'm gonna get you an AeroPress.
Okay.
They're cheap. Have you had Andrew Wilkinson on the podcast? You know?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna connect you with Andrew too. He's a phenomenal guy. He owns AeroPress, or
Okay.
his company does Tiny. They own AeroPress, and
Cool.
man, they should get a Tesla. Everyone should have a Tesla. They're the best. You
They're
have a
great
Tesla?
cars.
They're great
Yeah.
cars. Yeah. I don't know about the Cybertruck though, but Tesla's great.
I love this. Now, the other thing we're curious about is your business inefficient? Because we were talking to some of your team.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that there's a lot of, like, almost a chain of command
Yeah.
that they have to get through to get to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times things fizzle out on the
Sure.
way up, and
Yeah.
they don't get all the way up, and they just kind
It's
of
true.
lose steam.
Explain for those people
Yeah.
listening right now that may not be familiar, like how many businesses do you operate? You're throwing out
Yeah.
X capital and X this and
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I like roughly call it 7 or 8 businesses. So if you have, I have a loan company called Better Life Ref. I've got the Open Door Capital. I've got the Better Life Tribe, which is about 1,000. It's a membership with 1,000 real estate investors. All that goes to charity. I've got the media company, and I've got this thing called First Deal. It's like first deal, get your first deal. And then a couple other small random things. Yeah, there's definitely a hierarchy, you could call it, or organizational chart, you could say. It's because, and ultimately, like, yeah, I had a friend the other day say this. He said, "Hey, Brandon, some people buy real estate and some people build businesses that buy real estate." Right? So you could say some people do the thing and some people build businesses around the thing. I'm trying to build businesses around the thing, not do the thing. If that makes, and it's a subtle difference, right?
Yeah.
Like some people podcast and some people build podcasting businesses. The end result is probably the same. The difference is, you know, the corporatization, and I hate corporate stuff. I hate it's Hawaiian Shirt Friday and get your TPS report in and all that. But when you're trying to run 7, 8 businesses at one time, especially with one face, like where I'm the head of all of them, I'm the face. I have to have layers. I have to have operational efficiency inside of those. And sometimes that is inefficient. Like trying to get a video made, like my mortgage company needs a video made for social media. Okay, that has to go through several different people, and that is inefficient. That's annoying. I can't be as nimble. It's like moving the Titanic. It's just harder. However, that's really the only way to have 150 employees, I think, that work for me right now, spread out. It kind of has to be that way, but it's also what allows me to grow, you know, millions and millions and millions of dollars every year in revenue, and be able to handle that.
Do you think any of it's worth scaling back? I think we were talking to your social media
Yeah.
team. It's way bigger than what we expected.
Yeah.
It's bigger than our social media team.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
I'm putting out a good amount of content.
Yeah, no, it definitely bigger than definitely bigger than yours. And some of that is operational inefficiencies, probably. I would argue that you guys, this may come across sounding bad even to my
Please.
team. I don't mean that. But you guys are probably the equivalent of 10 people that would work for you, right? In other words, you could probably hire each 10 people to do the equivalent of what you guys know and can do. I don't do anything. I mean, like I show up and it's the record button's already there pretty much, right? And so for that, I have to have, I think, more people. If I got involved because if I was good at it, like you guys are, I just think, you're the equivalent of 10 people. Is it worth scaling back? 100%. I have too many companies. I know that. I would be more effective by far if I scaled back. That's just a hard thing. Once they're already running, they're all profitable. It's like that lie. It's like, oh, I can do it all.
Yeah.
I can do it all. But you can never do it all. And so, we are constantly pruning. There's a great book by Mike Michalowicz called The Pumpkin Plan, which basically says, whether it's different businesses or divisions within your business, the way to grow a massive pumpkin is by starting with a lot of them and then trimming all the ones that are not good enough until you're left with one. And then you pour all your energy into the one. So right now I've got a lot of pumpkins and trimming is a good idea.
Now, in terms of money, have you found that money can buy happiness?
Yeah, 100%. I think money can buy happiness, but I think that money can also buy misery. Money can buy anything. I mean, it can. And what I mean by there's a pat answer. Money buys experiences or money buys stuff that can make you happy. Sure. Money can buy stuff that makes you unhappy. So I'm not saying money always buys happiness. But if you have money, you can do things that make you happier. So that's why, yes, of course. I think money is dangerous. Like, I'm a Christian guy. I'm a Bible, believing Christian guy. I was even a youth pastor for a while. And the Bible talks a lot about wealth being dangerous, like bad. And Christians especially don't like to talk about that very much. Like it's way more fun to talk about prosperity and how great, like when you have money, you can give away a lot. But Jesus himself warns about money more than he does about almost anything else. And so I look at money in a very similar light to alcohol, actually. Alcohol can make you have a fun time. Like if you drink alcohol and you're around a bunch of people, you can have a good time. It'll loosen you up a little bit. Great. Is it dangerous? 1,000%. Does that mean we should never drink? Maybe for some, for sure. A lot of people shouldn't drink. Does that mean I'm never going to drink again? Not necessarily. But I have to be very cognizant of the dangers of money and the dangers of alcohol. They say money reveals who you are. Maybe. I think it does. But I think money can also just take anybody and make them worse, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You just start, if you're not careful about money.
So what are like the best practices then? If you're getting more money at a faster rate or you're growing in wealth, like what are the things that, like, is it staying grounded? Is it like having friends that are not wealthy? Is it like giving away money?
I think it's all of that. I think it's just, acknowledging the dangers of money. I think is step one. Just saying like money can be bad for people. It can be bad for me. It can make me a more greedy person if I'm not careful. It can make me believe that money is a thing that my happiness is found in, or that my validation, my self-worth is in my money. And if I lose my money. So things like giving away a good chunk of money, I think is a good way to then release that hold of money on you. Like you can't serve, I think that's the famous line in the Bible, you can't serve both God and money. And so you have to stop serving money, period, if you want to. What does that mean? It means it can't control you. And so by giving it away, you're saying, hey, this doesn't control me. I can always make more back. So I like making money. It's a tremendous amount of fun to build wealth and make money and help other people make money, because money solves a lot of problems. Like I love not being like worried about how I'm going to pay the bills. That's really nice. I love being able to give away millions of dollars to help people that don't have that ability. And I think again, from a spiritual side, I think that God has given certain people the ability to make money. That's not so we can buy a bigger jet. Like I didn't think maybe a jet will come someday, but that's not why he made me good at making money. It's not why he made you guys good at making money. I think he made you good at making money for another purpose. So spending your life trying to figure out what that purpose is, I think is a really good way to live your life.
But what about for the people who sell their companies or they come into a lot of money and immediately they get depressed?
Yeah, they're miserable. Almost all of them are miserable. And I think a lot of that is because their validation, their internal self-worth is in their career and they lose their career. It's gone. And so like that it could have happened with me when I left Bigger Pockets. Like I was known as the Bigger Pockets guy. Everyone knew me as a Bigger Pockets guy, and all of a sudden it was gone because I just left. But it didn't bother me because I had another thing. First of all, my identity wasn't in Bigger Pockets. It was in, I mean, a number of things, but one of them was it was in my brand. And that sounds weird. And like, I know I should say like my identity is in, God or whatever, like Christians would say. But like my identity was largely in my brand, which I took with me. My identity was in me as a real estate investor. That was part of it, which I took with me. I already had real estate. So when I left part of my identity, I didn't lose all of it, which is, I think, is often what people have. So I think people need to, before leaving a company, should probably try to figure out where their identity is actually at.
You mentioned while we were in the boat, once again, I think it was yesterday, that every time you've had money since you were a kid, you have a problem blowing it.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, how could, like you said, you can't serve two gods. It's like you're also really smart with your money, but at the same time, you've just consistently just like bought frivolous things.
I like fun stuff. So like, I don't know, even when I was a kid, I just want to go out and buy whatever. I mean, just stupid stuff, right? That's just temporary. And so I just know that about myself. But if I don't have money, I won't spend it on the dumb stuff. Like when I got the company I invested in got sold. I got a bunch of money, and the first thing I did was went and bought that Ford Raptor that's sitting out there. Like I was like, I'm gonna get a Raptor, and then the rest of the money, all of it, I just bought this house with, like the one that we're in right now, right? Because I will then. I have zero problem buying real estate with my money. Like I will blow my money on real estate because I know that's just a bank account. This house is a bank account. It's just one that I can't easily access. And I bought the house almost in cash. And then someday when I sell it, I get that cash back. So it's just a really hard to reach bank account. Here's the other reason I do that. When I was younger, I used to play a lot of Monopoly. My buddy Boone Greenlee, shout out to Boone Greenlee, and I in high school in the summer one time, we played every single day of the summer. We played 100 games of Monopoly, I think, over 100 days, something like that. It was wild. So I love Monopoly, and I'm really good at it. And the reason I'm good at it is because my strategy is to get rid of my money as fast as possible. Like you will never play Monopoly as well as when you have no money sitting in front of you, because then it matters. You're watching a football game. Like what's the best part of a football game is when the team's down by 6 points, they've got 90 yards to run or get down the field, and there's 2 minutes left on the clock. That's the best football you'll ever watch because like you have to win. You have to get to the end of the end zone. That's when they play the best. So I play the best when I don't have just millions of dollars just sitting and making, it's got to be working. It's got to be out there. I got to feel a little bit like I got to feel broke. If I don't feel broke, I get lazy.
Do you have any controversial takes about money or any misconceptions that you feel like people have?
That's a good question. I mean, part of it is that people always say money just refines who you are, and it just makes you more of who you are. I think that money makes you a worse person for most of the time. So that would be probably one hot take on money. I think that people spend way too much time and focused on saving money rather than making money. I think it's way easier to make money than save money. And I think people are like, oh, I don't really want to buy that latte, right? I don't like, and I could pick up, that's kind of a lot of your brand is like, you're like, wait, being cheap. I have never been cheap. Like I'm the opposite of cheap. People make fun of me for that. I'm just buy whatever I want generally. But that's because I can go and generate a lot more money a lot easier than I can save $50 a month on whatever. Like I probably have hundreds of dollars right now in subscriptions that I'm not using across I have every one of the video things that are out there. I probably have, let's call it $200 in video streaming services that I'm paying for that I'm not currently really using. I've got kids. I don't watch TV. I don't watch anything. All I need is Disney Plus. I'd be fine. Should I go and cancel all of them? Maybe. Or should that part of my brain just not even worry about that? Instead, be worried about how can I go and make an extra $1 million for better life that I can give away to Tim Tebow so he can go fight human trafficking and save a bunch of women and kids from slavery. Yeah, that's what I want my brain working on. I don't want my brain ever focused on like, how do I save another $50?
But now, do you think that's you? Do you think the average person has the capability to just say, well, I'm going to keep my $200 a month streaming and make $1 million?
Okay, there's a point in your life you need to pull that back for sure. And this is not everybody. This is me.
Yeah.
There was a moment in my life when I was younger where, I mean, shoot, we were struggling. I was probably 23 years old. My wife and I were struggling, like just couldn't figure out why there was no money ever. So I read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, and he's like, give every dollar a name and get the envelope budget out there. And I did that. And immediately I realized I was spending like $1,000 a month more than we were making. We were making like $2,000 a month. We were spending $3,000. Yeah, for sure. We needed to budget and pull back and do all the work of canceling subscriptions and all that. And so, yeah, have a baseline so you're not stupid. But I just think that making money is more fun and it's easier than saving money.
Why do you think rich people are seen as evil? And specifically landlords.
Yeah.
That they're, a leech on this system and that
Ooh, yeah.
nobody should be turning housing into a profit business.
Yeah, because people are stupid. Next question. I'm just kidding. No, I think people are, they want what they don't earn. They want what they haven't earned, and they think that everything should be given to them. I think a lot of people have that view. Now, are there bad landlords out there? I'm sure there are. Is it unfair? Yeah, capitalism is kind of unfair. Is it the system we have? Yes. Show me a better system that works for everybody, and I would love to learn more. But everything that's tried just doesn't work. Like what works is capitalism. And so, yeah, I think people see wealthy, successful people, and it makes them feel bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, if I see somebody with a six-pack, my immediate reaction, like my soul is, I don't like that person. They're probably a bad husband, right? Like that's what I'm like. They're probably really bad with their kids. They're probably horrible. All they do is go to the gym all day. I immediately find ways to make me not like them. Why? Because what does it matter if they have a six-pack? It's because it makes me go, I don't have a six-pack. And if I don't have a six-pack and he does, it must mean that I'm a worse person. Something inside of me is not good. I don't want to feel that way. I don't like that negative emotion. Therefore, I have to fight that with something else. So I see somebody rich and I'm like, well, they're rich. They must be evil. That explains why I'm not rich, because I'm not evil. Does that make sense? So
it does.
Yeah, we demonize people because we don't want to internally reflect that it might be our fault. We don't want to believe that we're the bad guy in our lives, but a lot of times we are.
If you were to start over today, $0, zero connections, but all of the knowledge in your head, could you be a millionaire in a year? And if so, how?
Yeah, if I was charismatic enough, if I can keep my charisma.
You're exactly who you are.
Yeah.
You just have no connections and no money.
Yeah, 100% I could. And I say that in a couple of fronts. Let's go with just real estate, because that's what we've been talking about today. I think it'd actually be easier in a lot of other avenues. Real estate is a slower game. But yeah, I would, if I had all my knowledge and I had my charisma, I could go out there and find a $5 million apartment complex that I could buy for $4 million that needs a bunch of work. And I could go and raise the money and get
How
that.
could you raise the money if you
Yeah, just go to a bunch of local real estate meetups. There's meetups around.
no track record? You'd be able to sell it anyways.
I think I could sell it anyways. I think you just go higher enough. There's a video that Hormozy put out a couple years ago that got a lot of it went viral and got a lot of angry people, where he said, yeah, it's easy to make $1 million. Just buy a $10 million asset for $9 million and sell it for 10. And everyone's like, oh, it's so easy. Why would everyone do it? Well, it's not easy. But if I had a year and gun to my head, had to get it done, yes, I can find a $10 million apartment complex for 9 and I could probably sell it for 10. You could do that. You could find a strategy to do that. Yeah, I'm very confident that wealth is a skill. Wealth is not an outcome. It's just a skill you have, and anybody with that skill can generate it.
Do you believe in fate, or do you think we create our own destiny?
I think we create our own destiny within bounds. Right. So again, not trying to over spiritualize everything, but you heard the story of Jonah, Jonah and the whale, or Jonah gets swallowed by a big whale or a fish, whatever. It's a science story.
Okay.
But in this story, Jonah, he's God was you're going to go to whatever, this city, and you're going to go tell them all that they're being bad. And he's like, no, I'm not. And so he runs the other direction. And then this giant storm comes and he gets eaten by a fish or a whale, and it spits him back out on the land later on. It's a great kind of metaphor, I guess you could say. And it's a story that illustrates you got to follow what God wants you to do. I think that's an exception, not the rule. In other words, I don't think God, or if you're, the universe or fate or whatever, I don't think it says you will go to this college and you will do this and you'll have this career. But I think there are cases where it's you're good at these things. This is the bounds of which you are capable. You are not you are charismatic. You're good at talking to people. You're good at money, and you're good at this. So therefore, you're that's probably the general bounds and area you're going to go. So anyway, I think the Jonah thing, I don't think fate says you will do this exact thing. I think that's a rare occasion. I don't think God's telling me to go and build a real estate empire. I think I chose that, but within the bounds of the skills that I have.
You mentioned that you think women are more attracted to guys that can demonstrate commitment, and that
Yes.
growing a large beard is exactly that.
That's it.
Is this just coping?
Is this just coping? It might be a little bit of coping, a little bit of making myself feel better about the beard. No, but I really believe, I think that there are just signals that a guy can give off that signal to a female, and the same thing works the other way around, that they will be a good mate. So whether that's a biological thing, an evolutionary thing, or just a common sense, right? Like a guy who's bigger is generally considered more attractive than a guy who is smaller. Like if you have no muscle whatsoever, a guy who talks really, really quiet and small is not as attractive as a guy who's got a big, loud voice. Why? Because it signals like protection. It signals, like power and leadership, which then is from again, kind of, hey, I can protect the people in my life. So the beard tells one of two things. It either tells the woman that this guy can commit to something for a long period of time. Just like a guy going to the gym, he can commit to the gym, he can commit to a beard, or it tells the woman that you're trying to cover something up. I don't know. Maybe I have a really weak chin.
I respect the beard a lot because if I see someone walking around with a beard as miraculous as the one you have,
Miraculous. I've never heard of that said that way. Thank you.
Automatically think like this is a really just person-y person. Like they have something to them that makes them a lot of whatever they are. You know what I mean? And like they're at least very sure of themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
I agree. I think that a beard makes you kind of a caricature of yourself, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that there's too many vanilla people in the world, and so whether it's a beard or cool glasses or an interesting haircut or the way that you talk or your Alex Hormozy wearing like cutoffs and like the big muscle shirts, like it just adds like this, like, oh, that's a character.
Yeah,
I like characters.
Does your wife like the beard?
She does. I always say, like, actually from the beginning, I said, when people say, how long do you want the beard to go? How long do you let it go for? I'm like, as long as my wife likes it. And every length it's been, my wife has liked it even more. So I'm going to keep it going until she says I don't like it.
Does she grab it? Does she like?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think I don't think she grabs. My kids grab it. Like this is a handle for the kids to get my attention. Like they crank it. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good way to go through life.
How much would it cost to shave it off?
Millions. Like I'm not even kidding. If you offered me $1 million right now, I wouldn't do it. Not a chance. 10 million, we could have a conversation. 10 million to charity. Okay, fine. We'll have that talk. But it's too much my identity. I mean, my Instagram is Beardy Brandon, right? Like, I mean, it's a big piece of who I am. And yeah.
How long would it take to grow it back?
This would probably take about 3 years.
3 years to get to that length?
That's what I'd guess. It doesn't grow anymore. It stays right here.
So you don't trim it anymore.
I mean, just like the crazy flyaways, but it's about this long.
The thing is, it has a shape to it, which is
yeah.
Okay, you do shape it,
and then Phyllis
this
over at
too,
DK Barber.
This is all done like the sides and everything because it's not like it's not wide. It's very thin.
Before I started going to an actual good barber who knew what they were doing, like I just let it go and it started just looking like a homeless person's beard because when it just goes out. And so I learned that good barbers will shape a beard into something. And there's a lot of different styles. And this is just the one that she picked. And
so interesting.
I go with expertise.
It's very cool.
Thank you.
It's just so rare.
Do you want to touch it? Yeah.
Kind of.
You ever seen that episode of Family Guy where there's like two bald guys in an elevator and then there's a third one that's not bald and then they're sitting there in the elevator and then the haired guy leaves and the two bald guys look at each other and go, oh, I thought he'd never leave. And they lick each other's heads.
What?
Yeah, it's the best.
Hilarious. That is so
it's like that's
funny.
what bald guys do. So bearded guys, you don't know this because we don't do it in front of you. When guys with long beards see each other, we wait until everyone's gone and then we go up and we like avatar that thing. Avatar where like the hair meets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that. We rub our hair together and we form a bond.
It feels very good.
Yeah, dude, it's magical actually. Like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
I'm gonna have a beard like that at some point in my life.
I think you should grow it out.
100%.
I think you should just from right now, this point forward, grow it out.
You think
Demonstrate commitment. Hardcore commitment.
That'll do it. If I end up finding a wife because of it,
you owe me.
Big time.
Last time I was on this podcast, we talked about you needed a haircut in order to find a wife. So this time you need a beard. This is the focus of our podcast together.
Who knows what it'll be in a couple of years?
Yeah,
I'll need something else.
Muscles, huge,
That's
giant,
definitely.
but only on one half of your body. That
That's
demonstrates
commitment.
It's
That's commitment.
commitment.
because
Yeah,
It's restraint
Yep.
because you're not working out both, but
Correct.
it's also like commitment because you can show the muscles.
and you're a character. Win, win, win.
That's a good point.
I think we figured it out for him.
What about any relationship advice that you have?
Heather and I, we met in college. She was the first girl I ever dated, first girl I ever kissed. Called my shot when I saw her from my dorm room. I said, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I went down there and, 4 years later, 4 years later, proposed. I'm going to steal a line from Esther Pearl. Esther Pearl, have you guys ever had her on the podcast?
No, but John Deloney references her all the time.
She's amazing.
All the time.
Yeah, Esther Pearl says, in your life, you will have 5 marriages. I hope they're all to the same person. And I think about that quote every day, because what I take that as is like the marriage that I had with Heather before kids was fun. We went to Europe, we traveled around. I mean, Graham, you're in it right now. It's a fun marriage. It's great. The marriage with little kids is a totally different marriage. And so many couples don't make it through that marriage. It's just a different marriage. And if all you do is lament the marriage you used to have and say, oh, I mean, like the life I used to have that. It was so good. Now I've got this hard life with little kids. Like you're going to always be miserable. And then the next marriage, when you have I'd say like older kids, right? That are like teenagers, that's totally different. Again, and most people don't make it through the transitions and they lose themselves in the process. And then the marriage, like after the kids are out of the house, is real tough for people. And then when you're old, you have that marriage. And it's, again, a very different marriage. So my best advice is just what I heard from Esther Pearl is like, focus on the transitions and just accept that marriage is over for now. And there always going to be pieces again, but like I will never again have that marriage with Heather. That's okay. It was beautiful while it lasted. Now we have a new marriage, and this marriage is beautiful as well, even though it's hard and challenging and difficult. And yeah.
Do you have any book recommendations for anyone
Thousands.
watching? What are your top 5?
Oh man, I'm such a reader. I love reading. The newest one, my favorite book is always the one I'm reading. Like I just get into every book and I'm like, this is the best. Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph like Nguyen. I'm not exactly sure to say his last name, but Don't Believe Everything You Think was phenomenal. It's kind of a book on like almost Buddhism. I love that one. The One Thing, Gary Keller, Jay Papasan, The One Thing is just about focus. I just apparently don't follow what I read, but I love the book, The One Thing. I absolutely love The Compound Effect from Darren Hardy. It's like do the action over and over and over. That made a big impact on me. I'm going to say it's not a business book, it's a fiction book, but I think it's one of the greatest leadership books ever written. I loved it. Is Red Rising. Have you read that one? Fun.
Yeah,
Mikey.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
It's such a good book.
Hey, Mikey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mikey. What's up, Mikey? Good choice of books.
I'll read
Red Rising, you can get it at Target. It's like a popular book, but in terms of like how to lead and inspire a team, like it's like, I want to be Darrow. Like I even thought about naming my kid Darrow. He's like the main character. It's like, dang, that guy. Last book, man. It's like I said, it's always the one that I'm reading, but we'll go with Rich Dad Poor Dad. I got to give it to Kiyosaki.
Classic.
I mean, that's classic. I interviewed 500 people on the Bigger Pockets podcast, real estate investors and millionaires. 90% of them named that book as the book that like most impacted their life. And when I got interviewed, like when it was my turn to be interviewed, I would always say that book.
Yeah.
Like when people ask me, it changes your mindset more than any other book in the finance space. I think it just alters how you think about money and wealth and building it. And it makes you believe, actually internalize, I could be wealthy someday. I could not struggle. There's a different life out there. It's like looking through the Narnia, like the cupboard door and be like, oh, there's a whole other world in there. Yeah, blows people's mind.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask us to do this, but because I think it would actually help out a lot of viewers here, you have like a coaching thing, right? Where you help people get through buying their first property. And if they don't in the first year, then they get all of their money back or something.
Yeah.
And it, like there's a guarantee. That is the guarantee is that you will buy your first property.
Yeah. There's a lot of, there's a lot of, I don't know, D-bag real estate influencers out there that'll charge, $50,000 or $100,000. Like, I'm going to help you be a real estate investor. And then people go into it and then they don't buy anything. They never do anything and they take advantage of people. It's a really shady industry in a lot of ways. Like, do you know about this practice? Like you'll go to like a seminar. It's not just in real estate, but you go to a seminar for like a weekend boot camp, fine. And day one, they're going to teach you negotiation skills. That's what you need to succeed. We're going to teach you how to negotiate. Well, what are we going to practice on? We're going to practice on your credit card companies. We're going to get you to raise your credit limit on your credit card. That's how you're going to practice negotiation. So they call up their credit card companies, they do the script, and they raise it from $5,000 to $25,000. The next day, guess what the price of the program is? And I've seen these documents from some of these companies.
That's insane.
It's blank. They leave the price blank so they can fill the price in when the sales guy's talking to the person with the price that their credit card was just raised to. It is so shady. I hate that stuff. So anyway, I have a program. It's called First Deal. It's literally how to get your first deal. It's like $6,000. And then if you don't buy a deal, but you did the work, you get your money back if it doesn't work. But I don't think anybody's gonna ask for the refund because either you get a deal, you didn't do the work, or we're just gonna keep working with you until you did. Like it's not like the desire for wealth goes away.
Yeah.
So I just meet with people every single week on a group call and we have a bunch of advisors. So anyway, First
So if
Deal.
you guys want to buy real estate, link down below. You didn't ask us to do that, but
Well,
I just wanted to, Thanks for coming on the show.
You're a good man. You're like a good wing. He's a good wingman, you know? Like,
Oh, stop.
yeah, you're like the guy at the bar who's like, yeah, my buddy over here. He's got a good thing. Anyway, yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
watching. It really means a lot. We flew to Hawaii.
Just for this.
We had to fly to Maui.
You had
Come
to.
in. We had to
That's
do that.
so hard.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, it had the worst hotel room ever. Oh,
I
you had
know.
to put up with
Yeah,
it.
that was.
So if
that
you
was-
appreciate us being on a 6.5-hour flight to get here for this, for like 2 hours, we spent 12 hours on an airplane for
Just-
2 hours of a podcast. Hit the like button and subscribe. That's it. It would mean the world to us, and it's free to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. That's it.
Thank you guys. Or don't if you don't want to.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have
It
to.
would mean a lot to
Yeah,
us.
buy some next month at the very least. Thanks for watching.
Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Better Life Podcast. We hope you enjoy the show. I hope you got some valuable insights to help you lead a better life for you and your family. Now, hey, if you found value in this episode, please consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to improve the show, helps us reach more people with this message of living that better life. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And hey, before I go, this show is all about the habits, actions, beliefs, and strategies that can give you a better life. But in case you're interested and you want to know my opinion on what it takes to live the best life, not just better, and that's from like a more spiritual and faith standpoint, check out abetterlife.com/bestlife. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Better Life Podcast.